pawn. Final one. So hello everybody, and a quick recap of what happened yesterday. It was a pretty damn interesting match. First game, Carlsen versus Dink. We see London system. Actually, Magnus employing this bishop f4, bishop g5 sort of transposition to the Queen's Gambit decline, but of course it's not Queen's Gambit decline. I believe that Magnus here had a huge advantage, but then something happened. I think either Dink defended very accurately or something, but this position was really dangerous for Black. And after taking knight e4, maybe White kind of rushed with his g5 move, because here Black just basically traded off everything and then closed the position. So maybe g5 was too early out, consider playing knight e5 here and then saving the option to play h5 and followed by g5, right? Because yeah, definitely White has huge advantage here, but we don't see how White can break through, so that's why this game was ended up in a draw. All right, this is definitely a draw. Definitely, there's no way to break through. But still, it was a very interesting game. And of course, second game was a disaster for Magnus here. So yeah, so second game was a disaster, and we see some Italian. Something that I don't really enjoy to play for either side. And of course, Magnus was doing pretty well until he blundered. He blundered this rook f6, right? This was pretty incredible because take queen e3 basically just resigns in one move. Instead, if he plays rook c6, he can basically survive and he's slightly better. Of course, white knights on f5, he gives him plenty of compensation. Hi, beat Chesser. So yeah, doing quick recap. So after this loss yesterday, Magnus was suddenly looking quite shaky, but he did manage to win the third game, which was pretty important to him, and he went for the London system yet again. But this time Ding went for this queen b6 stuff, and Magnus went for his trademark e3 without bishop g3, leaving the bishop on f4 and going for the structure, which is probably not that great for white. Remember, Black had some huge Black had some huge resources, and this pawn structure was not exactly that great. When they're starting in about 14 minutes, so I'm basically going high center, high killers. So basically I'm just doing a warm-up before the final. This is the final day after all, right? This is the match we've all been looking for, Naka versus Magnus. And so let's see what happened here. And then of course we see a4. And white managed to regroup his pieces. Black gets this pawn to a3, but his king is kind of weak, and that's not what you want to get against Magnus in the blitz game, right? So after rook e2, suddenly you have this weak pawn on h7. Black had to play f5 and close the bishop, close the diagonal. You know, he does get this hole in e5, but he has extra pawn after all, right? Instead he goes h6, and after f5, white is just suddenly much better because he is excellently posed for the attack, huge holes all over the king side, and eventually he has to sacrifice the exchange. We're looking at this massive exchanges. White is now much better because, again, Black king is under fire, a lot of checks coming, queen a8 check, queen a4, but Black didn't have to lose in one move because after knight f3 he basically lost in one move, right? It's bishop g6 and this mating net, and it's game over. Queen e8 mate. So that was game number 3, and of course, do you know which is the better opening to study for 1300? Pierce, Fyodor, Karakan, Sicilian. Much thanks. When you'll release next video on the London. Alright, thank you for your comments on the London system. I'll try to do it tomorrow, right? Since today is the final day of the tournament, and I can finally, you know, do something. And I'm thinking about doing it tomorrow. So it will be obviously a continuation of the e6 system because these are very important, right? Black has a lot of plans that he can play bishop e7, he can play bishop a6 like in the intro, and of course there are other moves also available. And we're not going to do the transpositions into the d5. There was also a very funny system used by Black against me in a couple games. I'm going to talk about that as well briefly, where Black does not play d5 and he plays bishop b7 and then bishop d6, right? So there is this also that funny system. So we'll pay attention to that as well. And said London should be named after you. Do you agree? I don't care. You know, I don't care. Well, it would be nice, but it's not really something that I care about, to be honest. All right, so but it was nice to see Magnus playing London and actually scoring pretty well. He was getting good positions, except in this game, right? But he won. And of course, we go into the craziest fourth game of the match, which was absolutely crazy. I was kind of following it with one eye, and yeah, where was it? Yeah, this game, right? This was absolutely crazy game. Yeah, looks very normal, looks very standard, you know. White goes with 95 f4, which is considered to be very good for white, because the black bishops are passive, and white has more space, and he cements his hold over e5 square. And we see, it's interesting to see how Magnus handles this. He actually trades the pawns here, and he allows his pawn on the queen side to be kind of weak, right? That pawn on b6 is absolutely terrible. White has more space in the center, and right, so white is definitely better here, you know, because of the central presence, closed bishops. And then we see some moves here played. What happened? Rook a d1, rook c d8. I don't think bishop a3 was necessary, but it was not such a bad move. And of course, trading here, f5, we see that black bishop on b8 is completely locked out. So probably about equal. The computer says though that black could have won by f4. So I think bishop c1 was probably good, right? Because bishop on a3 is doing nothing. And then queen e1. Okay, makes sense, right? Trying to use that rook on b2 to protect the pawn on g2 and bring your queen to protect the h4 square, something like that. So both players are very cautious in the time scramble that is coming, right? And then we see rook f6, and then we see this incredible knight c3, really this grab going for the exchange, which really favors white, right? Right, so okay, so knight c3, and we see that Dink already have foreseen this move, and after d5, and I think this position is much better for white now. He played d6, which after a certain exchange, after a certain move here, right? So the computer says knight d6, of course, you know, trying to open the knight, and this is a computer move. Not very easy to see. I kind of like Dink move d6, just completely killing this bishop on b8. White is guaranteed to have a draw. In fact, I would be not surprised if white would have just gone for queen f2, queen f4, sort of queen trade, because he has more pieces, minor pieces playing. So what happened here after bishop e4? I think white probably should have just grabbed the bishop and then traded the queens, because even though white is exchanged down, that bishop on b8 is absolutely dead. So in fact, white will be playing for a win. Just pushing around his knight and bishop, reorienting them, regrouping them to the king side. Instead, he played bishop d1. Still not bad. But here, you know, it was obvious that Dink was thinking about it, and he decided to finally play knight c3 at a very inopportune moment. He should have played something like, I don't know, bishop c3, put the bishop on e1, and put the bishop on g3, f4. So if white managed to put his bishop on f4 here, protecting the d6 pawn, and also bishop on f4 kind of hits that king, right? So with the rook on h3, bishop goes to f4, and then white has his hands completely free. He can do whatever he wants. As I'm saying, this was incredibly strong game by Dink until this point where he plays knight c3, and then he simply collapsed in this position, right? He simply collapsed. He played knight e6, which is incomprehensible to me. He should have taken the bishop, of course. Instead, he only grabbed the exchange, and now black is just better, right? He has better structure, and of course, both players are missing rook d2, and finally Magnus sees, and he wins the game. So this game was absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. I remember it was like 2 minutes each, maybe less than 1 minute, and yeah, that was crazy game. And tactics, and Magnus managed to win. All right, hi guys, hi everybody. So we have like 7 minutes before the tournament starts, right? So we're gonna obviously check it out on the League Chess, right? They didn't put the game yet. All right, so I'm gonna accept some challenges for now. This is the reason why I call it warm-up party, so you guys can play. And again, 3 zeros, that's fine. Oh yeah, there is a streamer championship on the chess.com today. It will be around 8 o'clock, and the registration will start at 7. So I might have to leave a little bit earlier. Hopefully these guys will they will play this final day without any Armageddon. And thank you for following. All right. So I'm on League Chess. I'm accepting challenges, guys. If you want to challenge me, you know, that's a warm-up party. All right. So we see one challenge, the first challenge here. All right. So we're gonna play Slav. Oh, yeah, of course, of course. Yeah, we're also gonna talk in our videos about the difference between second move bishop f4 and not the second move, right? All right. So c3, queen b6, knight f6, and yeah, there is the thing that if you play c4, queen c2. Actually, I don't play correctly. I should have just instead of queen b6, should just take on d4, play bishop f5. But let's see. All right, so you get this thing. Actually, there is this system for black. This has been played against me sometimes. Sometimes black plays g6 here simply, and he goes for this bishop f5 build. Right, that's what black do sometimes. Personally, I think white is still better here. Because, you know, after that all c4 stuff, you know, white comes b3, and those structures are actually better for white. Where were you yesterday? I was doing a lot of other things that came up, and I was pretty tired after all the non-stop streaming, so I wasn't able to be with you guys yesterday, but I will be with you guys today. And hopefully we're all gonna catch up this absolutely fantastic final that is coming up. Okay, bishop g7. There is the idea behind this madness, sort of speaking. This is not bad. Sometimes there is such a move as e6 here, though. There is such a move here. You want to really take with the pawn on f5. And let's see. So we're gonna do this, that. Bishop e2 correct. Okay, and what we are going to do with this bishop on f4? What are we going to do with the bishop? So let's put the rooks on the central files where they belong, right? Development is important. Hi guys, can't wait for the next one. All right. Hi Weir. Hi Dukis. Thank you guys, you're being so supportive. That's a huge thing to me. So bishop f4. So I'm playing a London aficionado here, I guess. And yeah, that's the reason why I want to keep the square. I want to keep the square, and let's see if I want to trade this knight or not, because that will give you a pair of bishops. c5, of course, is a huge threat, right? Trying to grab that, and you know what? Let's go into the endgame. But if we go into the endgame, you're gonna take with the pawn, right? All right, so knight c6 first. Knight c6 first. Yeah, white is definitely better here. White is definitely better. I cannot get to this bishop on f4. I have to trade my bishop somehow, but I can't get to that bishop, yeah. So white is not bad. White is not bad. Let's see. Rook c8. All right, let's try to trade the queens. See how that works for me. And Well, I guess thank you for the knight. You played really well until you really blundered this knight, man. Yeah. No blundering. How much time we have? We have... Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome. So we have like 2 minutes, yeah? We have like 2 minutes. Let's go for a second back. Let's go back here. In 1 minute. I don't see where the games is. Where are the games? They haven't set up the games. All right, so we're gonna do this thing for now. We're gonna wait, and we're gonna wait for the really played well. That's really how black should not play this. I think queen b6 in general is probably not the right way for black to play. So against this system, black sometimes plays bishop f5 and e6. So I think that's probably more correct. Or taking on d4 first and then bishop f5, e6. And the idea is that if you play bishop f4 on the second move, then black has the option of playing later knight g7, which is probably still better than knight playing on f6. All right, so we'll check it out. I'll do some research again. I'll get my old analysis, some games maybe, and we'll do the lecture. But it will be after I do my e6 thing. And the timer is here. Where are the games? Where are the games, guys? Lichess. I click on it, and boom, there we go. There we go, guys, and we are waiting for the moves. Finally, we are starting the final day of this marathon event, which was running, I believe, since almost like mid-April. Every day, 4 hours. It's a kind of Ironman thing. You're a huge fan. Thank you very much. In the trial simul. Alright, guys, but next Friday is the subscriber simul, so you better prepare all those openings of yours, because we're gonna have that. Yeah, today is Sunday, so this Friday is the coming simul. Those are classical, of course, but everybody knows that stuff. Yeah, if you really want to go into a very complicated game, I played again. After I played Gaganov, I played this guy, Vietnamese dude, in some St. Petersburg tournaments, which was very similar game to Gaganov. So if you want to see how that structure changed and my prep changed with time, that's how you play. So let's see. We see English opening. Let's go back from the beginning. This is the main English opening. Actually, bishop e7, very solid system. And white plays bishop e3, and I used to play rook c1 here. I think I played against Peter Svidler actually in Grand Prix in 2013 in Greece. This is considered to be a very solid system for black. There are different plans now for white. It's like a reverse dragon, right, guys? Hi Giga. So thank you for highlighting. All right, so this is the reverse dragon Sicilian. Interesting choice because Naka plays, he does play e4, right? But I don't think he plays that much. I don't think Magnus plays dragon, but I think he used to, right? So again, very interesting choice. If white plays d4 here, then he has to watch out for some, basically just exchanges and c6, right? So white usually plays either rook c1 here, or he plays a3 going for that b4, and then black has a choice whether to respond with the a5 and prevent b4, or whether to allow it and play f5, bishop f6 and knight d4 instead, which is a more common thing. So now we see Nakamura is actually spending some time. Oh, wait, Magnus actually spending some time to think where he is going to develop his pieces. If you ever played Dragon, then you know that white also has this plan of playing queen c1, followed by rook d1, and to play d4s. But instead we see rook c1 is actually played. And the idea is, again, white is going for this a3, knight e4, sort of bishop c5, putting this rook against c7 pawn. It's pretty standard, and black plays knight d5. Again, this is an important move, actually, because if you allow white to play knight e4, bishop c5, then black is kind of suffering a little bit. But now white has to exchange the knights, and this allows black to bring the bishop to d5. The idea sometimes you want to play simply f6, knight d4, get rid of this unpleasant pin, and later proceed with c6. So that is the idea here. Hi fellow chat, hi guys. So we see a3, and again, pretty normal. It doesn't mean that actually white wants to play b4, but he actually just pushes the pawn away from potential capture, and sometimes white wants to play queen a4, sometimes he wants to play knight d2, trade the bishops, and go into the slightly better endgame. So after rook e8, black is hoping for... the reason why I played queen c2 is because if you play knight d2 immediately, then black just gonna take and play knight d4. And this structure is actually very good for black, right? Because now you get the weakness, even though you get knight and queen, this pawn on e2 will require constant protection, and black is completely fine. So that's the reason why white plays queen c2. And usually now black responds with either bishop d6 or I think a5, yeah. That will be most logical here. So far black is doing fine. The rook e8, bishop f8 plan was actually championed by Kramnik, I think. Very solid, developed rook. Look at that rook e2 potential, and bishop f6 has been played. I'm not really sure that bishop f2 is such a great move, bishop f6, because knight d2 is now wins in strength. The idea why you want that bishop on f8 instead of bishop on f6 is because sometimes black plays f5 and kicks its knight away from e4. Because now white can actually play knight d2, right? Knight d2, as I mentioned, because if you play take here and knight d4, right, then you just sort of, well, according to the computer, you can grab this pawn, I guess. I'll probably take on d4 though first, and think about taking this, right? Rook e2, queen d8, rook d8, knight c4. And if b5, for example, then you have king f3 and knight d6, right? So that's kind of a problem for black. And if you play with rook to e6, then you have knight a5. And again, the presence of these pawns on board makes black bishop on f6 kind of dumb, and white controls the only c file. So this is the kind of technical thing that white is looking for in this opening. He's looking to get this small Catalan opening kind of advantage, all right? So that's what we're looking for. So I'm very surprised that Magnus taking his sweet time before he can play knight d2. And the other idea is that if black plays something like a5, then you weaken the square on c5 potentially. So that means the queen can go to b5 and attack this knight, followed by knight e4, doubling of the rooks here, pinning the black king down, knight down to defense of this pawn on c7. It's probably not that, it's starting to be unpleasant, okay? So, any questions so far? So, you saw my video. Do you know Call system? No, I don't know Call system. By the way, I just sort of added some Facebook and YouTube buttons to my Twitch in case you want to see some of the videos in the meantime. You're welcome to go to my YouTube, check out some videos. I know they're very amateurish, very, very amateurish. I don't have the editor. Yeah. So probably will be some aha moments, like cringe moments, but those are the stuff. All right, so thank you for such a huge and overwhelming positive response, guys. That was only a 19-minute video, and it was just basic introduction, and I wanted to see how I came to play London system, so get this historical perspective, which I think is kind of important. And okay, and why is Magnus taking so much time to think of this position? Knight d2 is so bloody obvious, right? I mean, what else? Black is, of course, is trying to play e4. That's one of the ideas behind bishop f6 now, because then his bishop will be playing well. And if you play something like b4, then there is such a thing as the b5. First, sometimes this is actually a common plot by black. First, you play a5 in white pawn to go to b5, so these pawns become potentially weak. And now you play knight d4. So the idea is that if you go for something like this, and after rook e2, sort of black might be better because pair of bishops. That's why you see why white needs to exchange this light squared bishop. We have this tactic combination by the computer. So this actually allows white to equalize, yeah. But I'm very surprised that he's still waiting for that knight d2 move. I mean, if you're playing the system with white, then then you should analyze these positions beforehand, right? I remember I was analyzing this stuff quite recently with one of my proteges, and yeah, knight d2. I mean, he spent 3 minutes thinking of this move. There's nothing wrong with it. All right. So knight d2 finally, right? We got it, knight d2. And now we're looking at maybe knight d4. We see Padru Jabava. He's doing some comments here on the Facebook. You know, I actually made a recent repost actually. There is the group by Arthur Kogan. He is leading the group named Say No to Cheating on Facebook, and I saw the chess bot thing which he linked. I had no idea such things existed, but obviously now I was blind. Now I realize, of course, such things exist, and they're actually being promoted, just like in Dota, just like in esport. You have a lot of cheat programs, right? You have a lot of cheat programs that actually automate a lot of complicated and time-consuming tasks for you, which makes it a lot easier. But in chess, it's even worse because it's not like about automation. It's about actually engine playing for you, and you get this program which can be used in any. It can be any platform, right? Here on Lichess, on Chess24, on Chess.com, all you get is a separate window. I mean, can you imagine, guys? This is like a huge thing, right? Even if you're broadcasting, right? When you're broadcasting, you have a choice of what you want people to see, what kind of windows, right? What kind of sources you want them to see, and then of course you can completely, basically, have this chessboard window up. Nobody will know about it because it's on a separate window. It's completely hidden, and you can just play chess and then broadcast at the same time. It's like, wow, yeah. So the stuff like this is like absolutely terrible. So we see knight d4, bishop, take. So we see this line, and as we have seen earlier, I kind of like queen c7 here, because if you don't take this pawn, black just plays c6, queen d5 check, bishop e7, he is fine. So queen c7 is the most testing response. Guys, we're actually, again, very lucky today. And yeah, we actually managed to, you know, take a look at this line before it's been played, right? All right, thank you, Machiavelli. Well, I don't think I'm better than those guys, but, you know, because when you have several commentators together, I had that experience in the past on ICC. I was paired with some commentators. What you're trying to do is trying to be very respectful to your co-commentator and allow him the chance to also make his own input and some, you know, views on the thing, right? And I think that's actually pretty good. But when you are commentating alone, of course, you have basically free hands. You can do anything. So again, rook d8 is forced, right? Then we're looking at knight c4, which is probably forced move, and then followed by king f3. And Naka is gonna have a pretty tough, very complicated defensive task on his hand. Let's see if he is up to the task, right? They also say very toxic comments. Well, they do have their own brand of humor, which I kind of find difficult to, sometimes difficult, right? Yeah, but it all depends, you know, like even if you're friends, I'm pretty sure, you know, they have their own quirks, right? Some people have this very interesting sense of humor, which people can find, you know, even insulting, but to others it's amusing. Again, it's a choice. You guys get a choice, right? I think there is even some commentator here on Lichess, right? See, there is this August person in the Grandmaster John Spielman. He is doing commentary. He is a great, of course, grand strategic positional player. I was actually lucky enough to play this guy in my career. I wasn't sure if I played him in the classical games. I'm pretty sure we played Rapids for sure. But again, he was one of the elite and top grandmasters in the world in his time. All right. Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of. I really wanted to kick chess.com guys in the butt, because they really should have done a commentary in this. I mean, they really should have. I think what they're doing is now taking a back seat, right, and letting things just flow, just letting ignore this event. It was not nice, to be honest. Yeah, it was definitely not nice, I think. But okay, chess 24 is a competition, but a future competition, right? Or sometimes what you do if you're more experienced dude, you allow the youngster to go forward and allow him the opportunity to make a fool out of himself, right? And chess 24 actually had a lot of glitches. Remember the first couple of days, right? For maybe a few days, even weeks. Remember when Ding was resigning on move 12? When there were disconnects, right? People blundering stuff and then clicking buttons by accident. Yeah, so that all that stuff is like basically the stuff you make when you're new. So knight c4, critical position right now. Black is faced with a huge choice. We saw that b5 is not that great for black, right? Because of this king f3 and knight d6 just wins, right? Rook c8, and if black moves rook e6, then knight a5, right? With the c line, bad bishop, and etc. So black has now to choose what he's gonna do. He's gonna leave this rook on e2, or he's gonna put this rook back to e6 and or just play g6. In any case, black will have to play a really waiting game. I kind of like g6 because after king f3 you can play rook d8 now, and rook can go to e6, right? So you have this check. Still kind of risky, right? Because after rook c7 you cannot take the knight. There is this knight f7 coming, and for example rook b2, then you have rook f7, rook d7. Looks kind of dangerous, right? Because rook is already on the 7th, but after rook d2 is okay. So I kind of like g6, you know, because you do need to get this luft to avoid this knight d6 rook e8 disaster. And white plays something else here. What can he play, right? I would probably think something about a4, preventing b5, if a6, a5, of course. What else can black do? Rook e6, but this rook is kind of, you know, it's kind of like a thorn. At the same time, it requires constant tactical alertness from black. But at the same time, it's kind of thorn in white side, yeah? So I'm thinking rook cd1 with the idea of rook d2, but then you have bishop g5, of course, preventing that stuff, right? And now black is... Ooh, black is worse now, yeah? According to the computer, black is worse because suddenly this position is better. So rook d8 has been played. One of the major important things here to understand why it is so difficult for black in practical terms is because, again, the pawn on d4 is on the dark squares, the square of the bishop, which makes this bishop really dead. It is difficult for black to find the correct spot for this bishop where he can work, right? There is just simply because of this pawn. In fact, if there was no this pawn on d4 and black had access to this d4 square by the bishop, he would be much better off. Pawn down, but having that bishop here, that would be just better. Because now he is stuck in this position, and playing this position against Magnus is actually a big pain in the... message to Naku to abort was the top. Alizar versus Naku disconnect was a big bummer. Yeah, that's true. So, again, this is the kind of position that Magnus excels in. And I think Naku is going to have some problems. Let's see their faces. I'm very lucky to be on this kind of the slowest cable internet in Russia. I mean, it's still pretty damn fast to me, right? So let's see. Let us see those faces. Are they going to show us the faces? No, they are not going to show us the faces. Oh, you guys, come on. We want to see those faces. Rook b1. Wait, my god. Oh, okay. See, already inaccurate, right? Already inaccurate, because now you get this knight d6 attacking the rook, and then knight e4 attacking the bishop with the tempo. A tempo for white. So if he was looking to play b5 now, it's just bad, yeah? This is just bad. So he's got to do something like h5. Okay, so rook to e6, but you guys see the evaluation going up, right? You see this eval, all because of this very good knight against very bad bishop. So we're looking at a4, followed by what white wants to do. He wants to push these pawns here, thanks to this knight on c4. Once these pawns are being pushed, the bishop will never have any decent square. So he probably will just play h4 just in case. But once these pawns are pushed, this creates some sort of weaknesses on the black queen side. And because of this knight controlling so many key squares, right? He has so many key squares. And he's on the white square, completely untouchable because of this pawn protecting him also on the white square. Yeah, black is in serious trouble. I don't know. Ooh, big problems for black. Both players look relaxed. You see their stream. I don't see their cams. All right, but if you see the cams, if you say so. So, okay, a4 has been played. And yeah, perfect position for white to play. Perfect. I can understand why Magnus is relaxed. You see the advantage. He has no risk. I don't know. Let's try to find what is the best counterplay for black, right? Let's try. So that means probably black has to play h5, g6, so he has to put these pawns here on the light squares, right? For the maximum benefit of the black's bishop on g5. I can think of black potentially putting this bishop on c7, because there he will be controlling at least... so if this bishop goes to c7, it will be able to control at least some squares, right? It will be a kind of big pawn because the way he'll be looking at this diagonal, right? He's not that great, but he's passive anyway. So so h5, b4, very strong play by Magnus so far. So I'm expecting probably rook f6 followed by rook e2, some kind of activity by black, right? Which is probably gonna be met by rook b2, correct? Which is the reason why you needed that b4 move, so you open the second rank. And white needs to trade one pair of rooks. For sure, white needs to trade one pair of rooks, because then it will be much easier to get this rook into the game. If white managed to get his rook into some open file, either E file or C file, right, and get this rook active and then close the line with the knight c4, then he will be much better. So let's see. Let us see how Nakamura comes up with something. I kind of like this h4 move. You know, creating some sort of tricks. They're back on the screen. Oh, the cams are back up. All right, yeah, let's see. Yeah, Nakamura looks relaxed, you know, but he is an actor. He is also an actor. He is trying to, you know, just to see and wait approach by Magnus. He's trying to see what is going on. So I wouldn't trust these guys. They like Naka used to play poker as well, I think, at some time, right? He was pretty good at it, I think. Is a bone on black throat. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So how white can trade the one rook? That's a good question. And the most important question is how to improve his position here. So again, I would think that white's best idea here would be to play rook b2, rook c2, right? Then put the second rook on b1 and second rook on the second. So double rooks on the second file by putting this rook on c2, right? And then starting all that knight hat tricks with knight a5, possibly knight b3, followed by rook c4, second rook goes to c2, finally rook going there. That is one possibility. So let's see. So Naka knows he has to keep his time control tight, right? So he's making useful waiting moves, and the thing about this knight on c4 is also that it controls this extremely important e3 square, just in case white is actually planning to play f4 and f5, right? If he plays king g2, for example, like which is the second, I think, or the third line that was the computer. So I like rook b2 because, again, you need this rook on the second. The second line control is extremely important. b6, trying to force a6 is pretty interesting. The idea is that sometimes you'll be able to hit this pawn. But rook b2, you know, white is not in a rush. This is the position where white is going to improve his game slowly but surely. And we see that the computer likes h4, but still nothing concrete. We'll see like shuffling, white trying to improve his position for like a gazillion of years. One of the ideas is to play f4, put the king back to f3, and then sort of trade the rooks like this. But if you put the pawn on f4, black bishop gets to c7. and then black plays f5, and this is just going to be a draw, right? Because your pawns will be the target later. Black will play g5, he will play h4, and then king will be stuck protecting this pawn. So bishop e7. This bishop is going to c5, I guess, potentially. Or to b4. For example, if white plays rook e2, for example, then you can think about playing bishop b4, and then bishop might go to c3, although in my opinion is not that great here. Because again, because of this pawn, yeah, he is not attacking anything. So let's see, rook c1, but this g5, g4 concept is quite interesting. g5, although after g5, h3, is black really going to play f5 here? And why is it such a no-no? Because, because you have this knight a5 and rook c7 check, right? You see how this rook now gets the square? So this is the reason why white plays rook c1. He is preparing that b6, knight a5. Because this, for example, if black plays something like h4, right? You play b6. If black takes here, then this is really bad position for black. Because knight controls so many squares. There is the threat of rook c7, and black is simply like much worse. Like bishop d6, knight c4 back. For example, bishop c5, rook b1, and then you have this very active rook. I'm not talking about this h4 pawn, right? I'm just talking about in general this position. And then knight a5, right? So that is a big problem. Like b6, knight b3, and there is no defense against f5 because, for example, rook a7, a5, and black just loses. Right? It's just losing because the bishop is bad. So the whole play is revolving around this bishop on e7 and where black can put this bishop. Hi guys, would it make sense to play king g4 than f4? Yeah, no, it doesn't. White wants to actually keep his pawns as many on the white squares as possible without opening the files for the black rooks. So white does want to play b6. So I think he wants to play rook c2 actually first, and then maybe b6, rook a5, knight a5, followed by rook c7, and trying to go really attacking. Okay, so I'm surprised he didn't play h3 here. I was actually thinking he should, because if you play something like this, right, and check, and then it's just the control of the e-file, right, it's just winning. So I'm very surprised Magnus allows this. He plays king g2, but okay, g4, and we'll see now if he plays b6. It'll be very interesting, right? Probably kind of too early. But if you play rook cc2, now because of this pawn formation, black might think about, well, not immediately, right? But bishop, for example, d8, and then followed by rook here, and second rook on e1. So white just allowed black to fix his pawn on the dark squares and improving his pawn structure. And I don't think that was a good idea by Magnus, right? We saw the right line that was supposed to play. Hi Radagast, hi guys. Let's see. So rook cc2, bishop g5, but bishop g5 allows b6 now, right? b6, and again we saw that you can't really do this because now you have this rook trade. Oh, you have rook b5 actually, which is very strong, because you win the tempo, right? You win a tempo to bring the second rook and take on b6, and now black is actually much worse. Can you go for and play for a mate here? I really doubt it. Because you have this rook b1, right? You have this rook b1, and now black pawn on b7 is under attack. Bishop on g5 is bad. So we're looking at b6, and if a6, then of course there's a problem how to defend against this rook e1 threat. What is this h4? And if bishop here, the knight a5. Let's see, rook e1, right? We are not scared. Rook d1, and they probably just play rook e2, prevent this rook coming. And this rook goes here, then you have rook bc2. Black cannot allow this pawn to go, and otherwise there is rook c7 coming. So this looks pretty good for white, yeah? White should play b6. And yeah, but it all hinges on this move actually. Because if you take on b6 immediately, then this rook can go to e1 and attack this pawn on d3. And white probably has nothing, to be honest. Very close to nothing. So b6 has been played. Now let's see the camera action. And Yeah, I see Naka, he's starting to become really thoughtful. And yeah, he's really thoughtful. Okay, so after b6, all right, let's see, a6. What is the computer move? Oh, the computer move is bishop d8, right? Whoa, bishop d8. Still, yeah, rook c8, right? Rook c8, and now rook e1. So that is the trick. That is the trick, because if you take, then rook a1. Black just needs to put his rook here. And we see why this pawn on g4 is now so great, right? Because there is this little trick. And wow, okay, rook e1. This is not easy to see. Not easy to see at all. Probably in this case, white should just take on b6 and play this position, because bishop on b6 now for sure is a terrible bishop. And I would say that white probably should start, you know, trying to sort of exchange this death box which his king is in right now, and go for this sort of position, because this is still pretty good for white. I mean, if you take, then you have the weaknesses on the 5th rank, right? Potential weakness on d4. So we have, oh, he played a b6, my god, and of course rook b5 will now be played, and Magnus will be much better. Magnus will be much better now, guys. Yeah, he missed rook b5, I think. He missed rook b5, guys. He missed rook b5. This is extremely important move. This is why this is so complicated to actually defend these positions, because it's very easy to blunder something like this. And I don't know if Magnus is going to blunder this. I'm not sure. I think he will find this move, because it makes a lot of sense. You win a tempo to bring your second rook for the doubling, right? And let's see. A b6. Well, computer says knight b6 also is better, but rook b5 is by far the strongest choice. And that is something that Naka probably didn't see. So let's see if... yeah, let's see. Because rook b5 looks not easy at all. Not easy at all, right? So let's see. Yeah, Magnus, he's just being like a patient dude, right? The way he sits, he's being very patient. He probably, some people probably told him that I'm rooting for Naka here, right? I think most of us are rooting for Naka, right? Because that guy, he's funny, he's cool, he's American, right? All right, that's why we like Naka. Okay, so he did find rook b5, and yeah, I don't. It's just not that nice. Yeah. So probably with king g6, unless he wants to play f6 immediately. But the problem with f6 is, of course, h4, and you are now actually forced to trade, because this pawn on g4 will be gone. If you go like rook e1, and oh, you have knight d6, knight f5 also, yeah. Yeah, so, but if you take this pawn, then of course a lot of weaknesses now. Oh, he just played f4. Interesting. F4. Kind of like rook b2, to be honest. Yeah, but he plays king f3. He wants to make sure. He wants to make sure that king is not mated. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe, you know, this pawn is doubled anyway, right? Collinear move. Is that what it's called? I have no idea. So so still, you know, black is in sort of trouble, but you know, every extra pawn exchange brings him closer to the endgame, where you can basically go for rook against rook and knights and just make a draw. So yeah, black has to play smart now. I really don't think that f3 was... I really don't like this f4 move. I kind of like this engine rook cb2 move. Then of course you still have this bishop d8. Then you have this h3 probably, yeah. Alright, so okay, let's see. Because again, you see how powerful this knight on c4 is? He controls e3 square, vital square, right? A lot of checks on e5. Attacking pawn on b6, potential knight d6 tricks, right? So many things this guy does. It's just so many things. Alright. Moves. Candidate moves for black, right? Let's go. Bishop d8, protecting the pawn on b6 is the most obvious one. Rook a8, counter-attacking this pawn is the second most obvious. I would say rook f6 was looking pretty obvious, but after king g2, that rook is kind of dumb, right? So that's not gonna happen. So bishop d8, rook d5. Rook d5 has to be played. I agree. So white is going to go for this pawn on d4, and basically white is saying, so we traded the pawns, right? I gave you this b pawn, I get the d pawn, but you're stuck with the double pawns here, and you're stuck with the disconnected pawns here. However, you know, the game is opening up, right? And the bishop in the open endgame, he's actually not bad. The bishop is actually not bad. So I kind of like this computer suggestion of bishop e7. The idea is if white takes here, for example, plays rook d5, then you suddenly can play even stuff like check and rook e1. Yeah, probably doesn't do much though. Yeah. So what else can you do? Well, you can play bishop f6 and rook a8. Oh, nice attacking this pawn, right? Bishop on f6, finally. Open lines. Remember how the black pawn was on d4? Not doing much, but now it's different. So let's see. Bishop f6, rook b2, rook a8. Really holding on to that extra pawn, I guess, by Hikaru. And the question is, of course, what is white going to do? That's a pretty important question, right? This rook bb5, kind of counterintuitive, but if taking this pawn allows black rook to get to e3, doesn't look very strong to me, right? So rook e8 makes sense. And king h3 is very inhuman. This is an inhuman move. Knight d7, the idea if you cannot take because rook b6, rook e6, knight f8, right? That is the tactical justification for white to bring his knight to c5. And now you can just play knight c5, and that's how you protect this pawn. Although after this exchange, things gonna look pretty close to drawish, right? So what happened here? Rook b6. No, he played rook b6, and ladies and gentlemen, this looks pretty much to be like a draw. Yeah, this definitely looks like a draw now, and Hikaru survived. Congratulations to Hikaru. I think Magnus is pissed off. Yeah, he does look pissed off. Because Magnus was long time, I think, right? 3 minutes. Yeah, definitely. When you have 3 minutes, definitely not enough to find all these beauties like knight b6 and knight d7. Extremely difficult move to find in the time scramble, right? So very unrealistic, to be honest. If somebody plays knight b6 and knight d7 against you, and he's like an FM or IM, it's like 100% sign that he's not doing something right, and you can report him. So see, the world champion doesn't find move like that, and yeah, obviously white is slightly better. If he can bring this knight to e4, maybe something, but with the pawns fixed on the dark squares, there's nothing much white can do. All right, we're gonna see a lot of shuffling here. Both players are down to 3 minutes. Still a little bit unpleasant for black to play, but it's much better than it was before, right? Okay. Right, so Naka survives, and they're gonna still play it out, of course. White is still slightly better. How much better is unclear. But I think black should be okay. The idea behind bishop e7 is that sometimes you want to bring your king to f5. If you bring your king to f5 directly, then you run into this check, knight e4, and I don't know, bishop has to go somewhere, I guess. And the problem with that is that you have this rook b7, and you're gonna get harassed, right? So rook a1, very logical move, trying to bring the rook to the second. We're gonna probably see here something along the 96 lines. I'll probably play 96 here, and if bishop e7, then 94. Try something like that. And then the idea is, of course, you have this rook a3. I think that's what Nakamura's idea is, because you can trade the rooks now, and with the bishop controlling the vital d6 square, black has access to the king f5, and white cannot play g4. Unless he is, yeah, because black's just gonna hit all his pawns here. Alright, so king f3, and bishop e5, I really didn't like this bishop here. it's kind of doing nothing. I really like bishop on e7 instead. Yeah, bishop on e7, because he'll be attacking the pawn, he'll be allowing the rook a3, he'll be taking away the squares from the white knight. But okay, on the other hand, bishop on e5 is alright, reasonable, right? Although white does want to play g4 now, because if you sort of allow this, right, then you have rook f5. You're very lucky to have rook f5 and rook f4, yeah. Because if you don't have rook f5, then it's a problem. Although you do have rook a1. So rook c, okay, king f5. Maybe, but then knight d2 goes back, right? Knight has to go back and try to get the 5th rank under control. So let's see what's going on. And knight d2 probably is played, right? Knight d2 is played, of course. It's Magnus, right? He knows where his pieces belong. So he tried to put the knight on e4, it didn't work. So knight on c4 is much better placed, because he is taking a lot of, again, things under control, like e3 square, a3 square, and indirectly protecting this pawn on d3. So knight d2, and yeah, still some work for black to do. What is white trying to do now is he's trying to exchange the rooks in the most favorable formation. I think that's what he's trying to do. Or get his rook somehow to this g file, to this g5 square, right? So knight c4, knight e4, rook h7, and hit this rook. Try to hit the both e6 and h5 pawns. Will not be easy. So check, king g6, of course. Oh, we're back to knight e4, and of course the bishop b5, then you have this rook b5 now, right? And the idea is that you simply play knight c4 and you're better now. So that's kind of the trick, and black doesn't have to fall for it. He can play rook a5 again, and I don't know, we'll see. Okay, rook e1. Rook e1 is already interesting, right? What happens if king f2? Can you really play rook e3 here? And the answer to that question is that you can, I guess. Yeah, let's check it out. Yeah, this looks like a draw to me. This definitely looks like a draw, but black might be suffering a little bit here. So rook e5, and now knight c4 will be played. Oh, he played knight e4 back. So he's basically doing the wonder wheel with his knight, yeah? The wonder wheel with the white knight, basically just, you know, willing it, you know, trying to prevent black rook from reaching e3 square, the most opportune moment. Rook f5 check. Most likely king will go to e2. But black rook on e5 is kind of nice. Then still, yeah, you have this rook b6 potential coming. You don't have king f7 because of knight d6 check. And there's still some complications here. They might agree on a draw. Yeah, they're looking at this line, which is absolutely bad for white, of course. And I'm just trying to see if they agreed on a draw yet. Okay, we are behind. King f5, and so if rook b8, you have rook a check, right, and rook a3. And you don't have rook f8 because of rook d3 followed by king e4. So that's the trick. And what is white going to do? He plays king f3, and the idea is of rook a5. Oh, so it's going to be a draw, right? So it's just going to be a draw. So it's going to be here, check, and back to rook a3. Unless white wants to play knight f2, but I really don't think so. Black just played bishop e5, rook b3. And I think this is the second time repetition, probably, yeah? Probably. Maybe he was afraid of this, yeah? It doesn't look so scary, no. Okay. Ooh! Oh my god, he just allowed rook b5. Oh my god. Dude, you just allowed rook b5? No. Okay. And then you have check. King g6 is bad because of this. Oh my god. Oh my god, this is dangerous. This is dangerous for black because after knight c4, everything is tied up. You have to do this and rook f5. But what is this endgame? What is this endgame? I don't like it. I really don't like it. Okay, and you lose the pawn, right? Oh my god, he missed king f2. He missed king f2. Okay, but it's still a draw. But it's not an easy draw. Rook e5. King f2. You gotta play king f2, man. You gotta do it. You gotta do it. You keep playing king f2. Cameras, action. Okay. Okay. Wow. Okay. Probably he wasn't sure he could win that game, right? He wasn't sure if he could win that game. But that was a huge chance. Because right now this looks like a draw. This looks more and more like a draw. Yeah, king f2 was his only chance, guys. I don't know how he missed it. Maybe he thought it was just a clear draw, but I think king f2 was a real chance, right? Thank you for following, guys. Yeah. Now it's too late. It's too late. Nothing. Now it's nothing. It's absolutely draw. So, after the game ends, we'll go back to this moment and we'll figure out what's going on. King g4, king e2. Is Magnus wants to lose this position? Is that what he wants? Okay, king g4, knight e4, yeah? Only move. If king g6, basically it's just it is returned to the same position over and over again. Yeah, but I don't believe I can't believe how he missed the. Is it a raid? Mark, hi. How are you? You suddenly banned chess in here. I see. All right. Thank you very much. Mark, did you see Magnus not play king f2 in this position, right? He couldn't have played king f2 and knight c4 unless, because you don't have this move because of rook g5 check, right? Rook g5 check and you just win. So black has to play rook e3. Maybe he wasn't sure about this position, but I'm pretty sure this is good for white. So this was the only reasonable line that comes to mind. Wait. Yeah. King g2, the threat is rook g5. So he has to do this, and rook e5. And this looks like pretty dangerous to me. Maybe he can hold it. Yeah, probably hold it, yeah. Probably draw. Alright, so this was a draw. So knight e4, bishop f5. Now we're looking at rook takes, king f5. And, ooh, some minor advantage for white, yeah? Minor advantage. What is this line? Probably draw. No, not really. Yeah, not really draw. Yeah, king f5, king e2. Important. Importante. And then rook h6, bishop g3. And now you have rook h5, yeah, king f4. And this line. What is this position? This looks actually pretty dangerous, yeah. Ooh, Magnus finally got something in the last minute, yeah. In the last minute on the clock, guys. Yeah, but now look at this position. Yeah, now he's definitely got something. King f4 was played, and after rook h8, white is just better. My god. See, that's what the grandmasters always do, right? They play around until you left with 1 minute on the clock, and now they're just gonna make the best moves and make black blunder. Wow. Nah, come on. Not really, no. No, Mark, thank you, though. Yeah, Mind Games by Carlson. Yeah, that's true. And he found rook h8, of course. He found. Look at this, plus 1.5. Look at their faces. See, Naka, he's like trying to guess what happened. He's not happy. He's like, what's going on, right? My god, he is such an actor. He is such an actor. All right. Yeah, but look at this evaluation, plus 1.9. Finally, he's got something. So he did that wonder wheel with his knight, right? And then he, repeated the position gazillion of times, but not exactly position, so you can score the threefold repetition. And then finally, boom. Naka sort of relaxed his guard, and boom. He's now much worse. Plus 2.4. Ladies and gentlemen, plus 2.4 is the win for white. Anything below 2.0 is a draw. But if it is above 0.2, unless it is the fortress, then it is a win. Wow. Yeah, because if black king gets to e3, then you should play knight c5 basically. Bring the king to c4 and push the pawn. Just shove it up like really deep, and then pray it works, right? Rook h3, most logical move. Then you have h6, for example, king e3, and rook e8, yeah. I don't know, knight c5 is not that good, yeah. Yeah. See how immediately the variation drops. Yeah. See, I'm not that good as I'm not as good by far. Yeah, this doesn't look very good for black, but still very tough. How do you... First you want to, of course, you want to play h7, and then you want to do a check and queen the pawn, right? That's the basics. So let's start with the basics, and let's see how king f5. Oh, he's missing this. This is beautiful, guys. This is check. Check and check. Oh, still a game though, yeah. Oh, but they played it, of course. They have to play it. So takes, king f6, rook h5. Yeah, this is the win. This is the win for sure, because white king gets to c4, then white rook gets to e4, and you grab the pawn, or black, or this rook goes to d5, and you win. This is the win, guys. Unbelievable, guys. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. This is how actually Magnus is able to beat so many of the grandmasters that you would think he would never win positions like that against them, right? You would never think that he is able to pull something like this, but he does it on a very consistent basis. But let's see the technique. Let us see the technique. Mark, thank you. Thank you for subscribing. And yeah, I mean, that's your dream. That should be your goal. We'll have to play the end games. Let us see. All right. Who looks lost? Naka? Yeah, Naka looks lost. Yeah, he is. Well, white wants just to bring his king to d5, and then, sort of... it's still not so easy, right? It's still not so easy. So let's see. Let's see that famous Magnus technique. Oh, with the king along the f file, it is winning, right? Because if the king goes here, so king f7, rook e4. If the king is cut off the e file, then you cannot stop this trade, right? Because this is winning endgame. However, if your king would be cut off, like for example, like this, right? Like along this file, for example, right? I don't know, something. Rook f6, king c7, knight, king d5, and then you go for this play. Then it's not really that great because black sort of holds that position, right? So if you take, king d6. So that is why Magnus actually is doing this way, and Nakamura lost, right? Hikaru lost. This is incredible performance, of course. This is incredible performance by Magnus. Wow. So let's see where black went wrong in that wonder wheel stuff, right? That Magnus pulled on him. So let's go back. So this was a draw. And then black plays this active move. And he plays this bishop e5, careless move, to be honest, yeah? So white just plays king f5, he is okay. But black decides that he can play bishop e5, and white has no time for rook e6, right? But white does have a time because black cannot go for this line because this king goes to g2 and it's a check. And if king h3, then it's king here, and yeah, but this would have been a draw, guys. This would have been a draw, actually. I think this is a draw. Yeah, this is definitely a draw because you just give up that bishop for that pawn. So I don't know what happened here. Some probably inability to calculate the line. Because what happened here in the game is that he just went for king f5, safe move, but he missed rook h6. And he missed that if he takes this, if he plays something like this, then white, yeah, he could still play this, yeah. He could still play this. I mean, rook h8, obviously you cannot take on h4, but you can play this. And rook e3, just in time. And then you're just in time to bring the bishop to f4 and protect this stuff. So rook e2 check. Yeah, this is still pretty bad, but compared to what he got in the game, where he played rook h8, this is already lost, yeah, because the pawn just marches. So the pawn just marches, so that's how he lost the game, yeah. So instead of repeating the position with king f5, which he was supposed to do, he plays bishop e5, and you give up that pawn. Failure by tactics. That's what happens, guys. That is what happens. And you got punished, yeah. Because when you're down to the minute on the clock, this is the critical phase of the game. You stop stream thinking he would hold it. Yeah, I wasn't sure. Massaging the position. Yeah. All right. 8 years ago, Magnus would win this endgame without allowing... Yeah, he allowed black to play g4 in the first place. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. I mean, but, you know, this is different, right? This is different. I mean, Hikaru definitely should have held that endgame. But he was already probably under effect psychologically. Because when you're low on time, right, you don't have that much time to recuperate. It's not like classical game. It's like you have another 15 minutes, you can stand up, you can basically walk around and get back into the game. This is where you have less than 1 minute on the clock. You realize you blundered, you get really affected by that, and you realize that you cannot trust your calculation skills, and you have to play fast, right? So all these factors that they're in your head. This is why this is so bad, you know, to get into a defending position like this when you're getting squeezed with the low time control, because the probability of you making mistake are increasing with each time. The time decreases, right? It's like this reverse proportion thing. Yeah, exactly. But he was at fault, right? He could have played king e5 and just protected everything. Instead, he went for bishop e5. He just gave that pawn on e6, thinking white cannot take that pawn, but he could. I'm very sure he just blundered king e2, right? He just blundered king e2 and rook h6, the whole idea. That's what he did. and you cannot do that. All right, you're waiting for the second game. Well, how many games in the final do you have? 4 games? Hi Andromeda. Hi guys. Is the same format? 4 games? Can you walk us through the first game? Alright. So as I mentioned before, this is like famous English position. Rook c1 is a very quiet line. Usually white plays a3. Sometimes he plays d4 here. And bishop e3 is like not a very popular line, but I kind of like it. I played it against Svidler, but Svidler didn't play this. He played f5, bishop f6 against me. Very complex game. Knight d5 is correct. a3. But now, after queen c2, black allowed this knight d2 thing to happen, after which all his problems started, basically. So I think rook e8 was probably not accurate, and in this position, black sometimes plays a6 or goes for knight d4, or prepares for it, right? I don't think. Yeah, queen c2 is a very tricky move, actually. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I have some analysis here, but they've been done a long time ago. All right, because the main idea is you preventing that knight d4, right? Black has to play knight d4. That was his whole idea. And usually, if black managed to play c6 here, he's completely fine. He's better. But he didn't, because that's the whole point of white queen c2. Now we have this transformation to the endgame, which is already better for white, because black has no time to play b5. His bishop is closed by this pawn on d4. And so if you play b5, then there is this king f3, and rook has to go, because if you protect it, then your 8th rank is weak. So black has no time. And if you play rook e6, then after knight a5, again, thanks to this bad bishop on f6, white is just better. So so Naka played this move, and then of course king f3, same threat. He has to play bishop g5. Rook goes back, and after a4, very important move to prevent this b5, right? Because you need this knight on c4. And now this is an eternal torture. And then white played a little bit carelessly here. He allowed this... Rook c1 was okay, but he allowed this g4. He should have played h3. And if f5, then you have b6, and it's a completely different thing here. Because after g4 check, white is not gonna get mated here, right? There's check on the c7 with the check comes. So this is a much better version of what happened in the game. And you sort of playing h3, preventing that box-in version of your king. Right? In the game, what happened? He played king g2, g4, and now black sort of missed this rook b5. I think a6 was necessary, but okay. Black missed this rook b5 thing, and now white played this absolutely incredible f4 to me. Personally, I thought that rook cb2 was still better, but f4, okay, f4 happened, and we see this incredible fight here, and Magnus going for the small advantage. And of course, it's not easy to see that after this check, and rook, and rook a6, rook e8, white has knight d7, and you cannot take this pawn because of this knight f8 trick, right? And if you cannot grab this pawn, that means that white basically just plays knight c5, I think. Rook b6 check, yeah. So white is still better. Instead, Magnus plays this very safe move. He took with the rook. He went rook b5, took this pawn, and we see what happened, right? We see that this is the draw. But then he also, yeah, he was forced to play h4, and this is a draw position, actually. And then we see this wonder wheel stuff happening, knights going all over the place, right? Landing on a4, and eventually black making a mistake, which turns out to be really bad. So that is the overview of the first game. All right. That was the overview of the first game. So small advantage always for white. Very patient game by Magnus, waiting for his opponent's mistake to come. And eventually it did come when they were real long time, like around 1 minute, right? Because when you're below 1 minute, that's when your nerves really start to play up. Really start to play up, guys. Yeah. Even if you're a top grandmaster, but when you see your time like really decreasing, and it's really getting close to the deadline, and you still don't see a clear-cut way to the draw, you know you're worse. That is like the worst psychological feeling you can have in chess. Trust me. It's not what you want to feel. It's like, it's your doom, right? This inescapable, darkest place. It kind of advances on you slowly, and you know you're gonna be crushed, right? That's what the kind of feeling you get. And I think Naka actually took it pretty well. Oh. Okay. Alright, so we see Queen's Gambit. Naka plays d4. So he's gonna try to do the same thing now with white. He's probably gonna play for a small advantage and try to see if he can squeeze the water out of the rock. Rogozin, you think? Magnus plays Rogozin? Really? I thought that Firouzja was playing Rogozin against Magnus. And remember that Giri game, he also used the same preparation against Magnus, and he beat him with black, I think, right? That was Queen c1 blunder check, right? Rook b2, Queen c1 was an unexplainable thing. Yeah, that match versus Giri by Carlsen was actually the strangest thing that I have seen in the past couple of years. Yeah, that was like the most incredible thing. Yeah, Bishop is Magnus is actually playing like Hikaru does, yeah? Hikaru played this line with black. I want to see this. Yeah, because Hikaru plays this line with black. But he plays knight bd7 instead of castling. So we might be in for some Levon Aronian action here, yeah? Levon plays this line for white all the time. He has some wonderful wins. Capablanca, Elhain line. Well, again, Bishop f4. You see, it's like London system with the pawn on c4, right? So it can't be that bad for white, right? Bishop f4 is a good bishop. Yeah. I mean, the only difference between London and Queen's Gambit is that you have the pawn on c4 and on c3. Yeah, and Anish Giri actually introduced this h4 plan. H4 plan, of course, is the very common plan in London system, right? Going for the attack. And c5 and then h4. But then, okay, h4 was like decades. It's been played decades before, especially on this line. Even though, like, for example, here, right? I think people have been playing here h4 for years in this particular position. Let's see. b4, you see h4, one game. We see actually Nakamura making a game against Kramnik, draw in 2016. We see Giri against Aronian, Anand versus Nakamura. Yeah. This structure. White gives up his dark squared bishop, but he gets this huge control of the e file. This pawn on f4 provides additional protection against black's e5 break. And I like this line for white because in this kind of close position, you really want you to have knights versus bishops, right? Because this bishop is kind of dead. Yeah, black usually plays bishop f6, g6, you know, sort of makes this fortress around his king. But still, Aronian had some nice victories in this position because he was going to the endgame, and the endgame is just so dangerous for black. When you lack space, always some kind of breakthroughs, pawn breakthroughs, knight going to the c6 pawn in the endgame. So if white doesn't get you in the middle game, you're still not off the hook with black, right? This is you gotta have a lot of patience to play this line as black, and you have to suffer, literally. You have to suffer all in order to equalize, you know. This is why I don't play this line for black. I played sometimes this Nimzo line with black, but there is a very similar line. In fact, let me show you. Alright, I'm gonna show you this line. I used to play this black. See, recognize recognize the structure, guys? So go something like this. And bishop b2, a5, bishop here. Looks similar, yeah? So take. But white knight gets to d3, which kind of makes the difference. But again, similar concept, right? So let's see. Castles. Yes, they're done. The white bishop is important, and sometimes white does not allow this capture on f4. There is this line in Slav, right? Let me show you again. I apologize for the brief delay. I mean, I play it with black, right? I am not sure how to flip the board. All right, I don't know. So whatever. So there's this line in Slav, which I'm kind of fond of. And remember how white plays c5 here, right? This is my favorite play by g6 by black. And bishop f4 is actually inaccurate because of knight h5 here, right? Because black really wants to trade these bishops, and it will make this e5 break easier. This is the reason why the main line by white is actually playing h3 in advance, and then you play bishop f4. Because now you have this bishop really going to h2, and you're also preventing black's potential bishop g4 trading his bad bishop for your knight. So there is a nuance right there, okay? This is the theory as we know it. So far so good for white. Bishop a6 has to be played. It has to be played. You have to exchange this bishop. Otherwise, white just plays bishop queen e2, and the black bishop on b7 is a very sad sight, right? So you need to exchange this bishop, really. And now, of course, there's like huge analysis here. There's some lines with knight a4. There's some lines with bishop a6. Sometimes white will want to play f5, rook e1. Huge analysis here. A lot of games played. We can see here 39 games played with bishop takes a6, right? F to flip, really? Let me see. Oh, okay. Thank you, Mark. Thank you much. B5? B5 you don't play because first you need the rook on c1, which is the reason why I think Geary played it, rook c1 here. Because c6, knight b8, and this pawn is gone. Alright, in this case you have rook c8, which is far better move, of course, because obviously this pawn is not going to be alive for a long time. And that's the reason why white usually needs to put some piece on the c file before he can press b5. Sure, otherwise, I mean, that would be look ideal, right? For example, if you play c6, right, knight f6, for example, knight b5, you see the evaluation is winning. It is winning, but black has knight b8. And this position, white might have compensation, but nothing really, probably only enough to compensate for a pawn. Alright, so let's see. I'm not sure about this queen e2, queen d3, probably would get the same thing, right? So g6, this move is important because white really wants to play a5 and open this e file, I think. I'm not sure though. Maybe not a5, yeah? Maybe something like knight g5 some point. Or knight e5 and completely close this bishop. So, yeah, let's check out the structure. What is this thing? Knight e5. You see how bad black bishop is? Even though all white pawns are on the dark squares, black bishop has no way to get to these pawns. And you can't really play f6, because this sort of creates your own weakness here, although you can, yeah? Yeah, you can. You probably can. And your bishop gets to g5, finally. Get some air. Yeah, so you don't want to rush with this knight e5. You don't want to rush because knight on f3 is way more active than knight on d7. Because knight on d7's sole function is to prevent white knight from going to e5. Right. Yeah, that true. Yeah, Mark, you're right. That can happen as well. So we see some, again, very patient play by Naka. And of course, since Naka plays these positions as black all the time, he knows probably the best plan how to play it with white. So what we are witnessing now is a demonstration how white should play this position, because Naka plays this as black. And this is pretty bloody interesting. So you want to keep that pawn on c5. You can never really play b5. And now we're going to probably see black trying to double his rook on the a file, which is the most common response. I actually am thinking if white can play h4, like h5, that would be something that I always worried with black when I face the structure, right? That white will just play h4, h5, trade on g6, and at some point, you know, there'll be an attack along the h file, or the knight will be able to go to e5 and do some sacrificing, right? So black just wants to trade the rooks. However, we see the evaluation going up for white. The reason is that after opening the a file, now you have some concrete weaknesses for black, I guess. Yeah. So, and again, lack of space for black pieces. I kind of like to put my bishop on f6 or on c7, such positions, again, so I can relieve my knight of the guard duty and put the knight somewhere else. Ideally, this knight on d7 should be on e7 square, where he can protect the c6 pawn. But let's see. So, queen b7, rook a b1. Kind of a little bit strange move, to be honest. You're just allowing black to waltz in with his rook. But yeah, this is kind of strange play by Nakamura. Yeah, this is, I don't understand. I don't understand this. You willingly give up this a file, allow black pieces to activate. Of course, your knight on c3 is strong. I understand that, but what is white trying to pull? I don't understand. He has now no advantage at all. Yeah, because of these active rooks. There is no attack. h4, just h5. 92. Where is this knight going? Where is this knight going? Yeah, that makes sense. You cannot play rook b2 because you just lose the pawn, right? Double pin. So you have to play this. And now, yeah, but what does knight need to going? I don't know. What is going on? Is he going to d3? Good morning, guys. So I don't know. Where is this knight going? That's a big question. Do you really think he is planning g4, knight g3, followed by f5? That is not gonna make a lot of sense to me. Probably the most sense makes it if the knight goes to c1 and then to d3, right? That is the most sense I can make out of this maneuver. I kind of like that knight on c3 because he was covering all those squares. I mean, it's not so easy for black to play as well, because he plays queen a6 and b5, you can lose the game, right? Because you get your dream pawn. So you cannot do that. If you take and play queen a6, yeah, it's just going to be exchanges. And black has to be careful because he cannot really do this because, you know, rook b7 and white gets to the c6 pawn. So, but b5 was not a threat. I think black should have played actually b5 here, close this position completely. Even though white this has potential knight to a5, you have this bishop on d8 meeting this knight, right? And because of this open a file, well, okay, maybe black was worried that now white is gonna really switch to the king side formation, yeah? Maybe, yeah? Because now these rooks are completely useless. Well, no, they're not completely useless, but let's look at this line, for example. Yeah, let's go h5. What is this position? The computer takes this. Yeah, he can take it, of course, but if you don't take it, then you're kind of worse, right? So rook c2, and so you need this rook on the a2 file. You don't trade off the rooks. Good morning. 3 days, Corona. Oh, thank you for cheering, Bernsen. Thank you for your donation. So probably I like computer suggestion of leaving the rooks, but on the other hand, then this rook will go to the b file and b7. So you are actually maybe forced to trade this. And then there's a question. How is black going to play? This is the reason why I mentioned the black knight should be playing, this knight should be on e7. Because if this knight is on e7, he's protecting the pawn, he is also looking for knight f5. But most importantly, he protects this pawn. This is the weakness of black position. Rook b8. Like this move because, yeah, trading the heavy pieces is important because then you don't have this rook b7, right? You don't have to worry about this sort of thing. So we're looking at potential trades. And yeah, and then we go into the Aronian stuff, right? Aronian was the greatest expert in this endgame. I think he won a lot of games with white in this position, in this endgame, exactly as this sort of endgame. He won a lot of games here, man. It's not even funny how many games he won. Very important games too. And I don't know. Naka probably found a way to hold this position for black, but this is like such a yeah, but this is such a passive stuff. I keep forgetting that Magnus is playing black, right? Because I'm so used to seeing Naka play this position for black, and now Naka is on the white side of this torture. So basically what we're witnessing, perhaps, is the Magnus willingly going into this line to demonstrate to his opponent that unlike Naka, who couldn't hold the first game with that minuscule advantage for white, Magnus is willing to risk it, and he is willing to prove to his opponent that he can defend this slightly worse position against Naka. So we're witnessing a lot of yeah, we're witnessing a lot of psychological mind game here between these two players. A lot of it. I mean, you guys all remember. I mean, that was like 5-6 years ago. Remember those famous? These guys have history. There was a famous Naka saying, like, nobody can stop this Sauron except me, right? So he's like compared Magnus to this great, huge, evil overlord of the Middle Earth, right? And Naka was like this. I don't know. Did he look at himself as the king of Gondor, right? This, or he was looking at himself as the elf or the dwarf guy. I don't know. I just remember, Mark. I just remember seeing Aronian win a couple of games in this endgame structure. I don't remember where, but I remember seeing them. And he played plenty of other games. But there were a couple of beautiful games that he won. And they featured, I think, exactly this knight and knight versus knight and bishop. And there was some knight b4, knight e5, and there was some incredible endgame wins in this structure. This pawn takes on f4. Yeah. So let's see. So knight c1, and white is really going for this endgame stuff. I'm pretty sure Naka studied all those Aronian endgames really well. I'm not so sure if Magnus studied those games. So we'll see. Inaccurate. Inaccurate. White must exchange queens here. This is the only way you can play for an advantage. Because with the queens on board, it is very difficult to do anything. Now, if the queens are traded, then white can play for a win. Comfortably play for a win. Because black is so cramped, you can only wait and see what happens. So, unless white is really going to play for this knight fe5 and try to force the trades, get this undoubled f-pawn, and then sort of queen and knight versus, I don't know, queen and knight or queen and bishop. But white really needs to exchange the queens imho, because, yeah, black queen is way more active. It can also go to a lot of squares like e4, right? If it gets to e4, then basically it's just draw. And white needs to get to the c6 pawn. The only way to get it is by playing knight b4 without the queens, right? Then forcing black to play knight b8. So again, a lot of things there. We see actually Naka having a time advantage and a small plus. I don't like h5. This is a sort of move which is pretty dangerous, because you might need that pawn, especially white trades the knights. That square on g5 becomes really weak. So h5 in this position, you have to be really careful when you play h5. Really, really careful. Because now also potentially any breaks with the f5 here become really relevant at some point. And with the pawn h5, you cannot recapture on g6, for example, with the h-pawn anymore. So this h5 is a little bit inaccurate. I really don't like it. Yeah. Caro Baggins. I like that. Caro Baggins. My God, you just coined a new term for him, yeah? My God, you're funny, man. Caro Baggins. That kind of actually makes has a certain sound to it. Sound to it, yeah. 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 Okay. Yeah, for sure. All right, I can see that. I can see that image. I kind of like that. So, queen a3. Patient move. White is looking for queen a7 and queen d7 trade, yeah? Queen e7, that is interesting. That is interesting. What happens if black plays king e8, for example? Then queen a7, right? How bad is this? This is actually not bad because you have h4. Alright, so this is not that bad. And if you play h4 immediately, then of course g4, you simply lose this pawn. So you can't do that. So king f8, I like how computer now likes this move. And then we have this knight e5. And the idea is that if you take it, you cannot play king g7 anymore, right? You cannot play this move, my friend. I like this h4. Patient move. Queen on a8 is perfect, right? And then what? And then black is in sort of Zugzwang. Bishop is not moving. Queen has to protect the pawn. And king is not moving. You see, guys, this is a Zugzwang, right? So queen a3. I'm thinking maybe queen b7, but then you have this queen a4 now, right? And knight going to b4. So maybe Naka is actually doing things better than I thought he is. So without the queens, this endgame is for sure better for white, but okay. But with the queens, you have this queen a7 trick, right? And this pawn on h5, it just makes things worse for black. Yeah. So queen a7 is actually a big deal. Probably h4 first though. So let's see, queen c4, and then you have check, and this knight d5 is a monster of a piece, right? So you gotta take it with the bishop, and then of course you take it with the pawn. And again, this g5 square, that's potential huge thing. h4 probably has to be played. Ah, you have this nice trick, right? You have this nice trick which saves black's position. And if you don't, if you go and play it blindly, then you have this check. And queen d3, queen f5 is a huge threat, and black is okay. Wow. I really doubt, you know, people, these grandmasters can see all this stuff. So this is the reason why you need to play h4 first. And now you play knight e5, right? Because if you do this, now you see again the importance of this g5 square. See, Naka, he knows these positions, like he knows them. He knows that you cannot do stuff like this. So knight f8 preventing knight g5, because if you play knight g5, knight h7, okay, one wrong move and it's equal. So queen a8, queen d5, and then you play knight g5. Why? Because if knight h7, then it is queen f8, my friends, and probably the king walks, the king walk of fame, right? What about this king walk of fame? Is it possible? Ooh, the computer says the only way to draw is by playing queen a3, which I completely don't understand, to be honest. And if king g5, ooh, queen f3. All right, but you don't, of course, you don't do that. First you give a check, and then you do this, and now you do king g5. Oh my god, look at this beautiful line. Queen g3. It's still winning though. It is still winning though for whites, yeah? It is still winning, god. Oh my god, it is still winning. King h6, king f7, g5. This just wins. Okay, so you guys see this beautiful lines, right? You guys see these lines, right? Wow, unbelievable, beautiful stuff, right? So that is exactly, but you see, only white is pressing. Only white can win this sort of position. So you see why you should avoid playing this line as black. Like, I'm staying away from such lines as black because I know how dangerous this stuff is, right? And I think Magnus is down to 3 minutes versus 8. Where are the faces? I don't see them. Yeah, very, very dangerous line. Yeah, very, very dangerous. So h4 and knight d5 and f takes e5, huge threat. So this is Naka's idea how to play this line for white. I really like the way he introduced this. So if black pawn was on h7, right? Let's go back for a second. Let's just look at this line, like if black keeps his pawn on h5, right? So for example, back and forth, bishop d8 is probably strong, yeah? So for example, queen a3, bishop f6, let's play this out, yeah? Knight d5, and then you can just grab it with the knight, and bishop e7. There is no knight g5 trick. Check, queen e8, queen d7. Still worse because, you know, extremely active queen here. Knight h2 looks very strong. And h6, knight g4, forcing that h5. And now if you allow white knight to get to f3, black is worse. So this is the only time when you have to play something like this. And then you have to be very strong like a computer, because this pawn on h5 is sort of weak, right? So you see how computer plays this? He plays around, you know, this is why knight is so strong with the queen. Because knight dances around, and he dances around to hit all these pawns, and bishop is only able to cover some squares. Alright, so knight d5 has been played. And kind of way too early, right? We saw that. But still. So black takes on e5 and plays with the bishop to e7. Then it is queen a7. This was bad. And alright, so he probably will play bishop d8. They'll probably play this move and then queen a5, and if bishop a5, then after queen a7, knight g5 is a huge threat. And basically black is done for. You see the evaluation, he is done for. So he goes queen e2, and this is the reason why he needed that pawn on h4, right? Because after knight g5, if white pawn was already on h4, white is winning completely because of queen a7. But now black has time for h4 himself, and he might be able to save this line, although let's look at this position. And then white of course takes with the f pawn because you need to create the pass pawn on the h file. And this position is still very, very bad for black because of this structure, right? Because of this weakness on e6, you can never really play f6 because this is the instructive game how to play this position for white. If you play h4, then queen e4, and very difficult to move this knight now. Very difficult. So you got to play knight g5 here. I think it has to be played. Then queen g4. And queen e3 probably has to be played. Although, what is this h4 thing, right? What is this? Ooh, you cannot capture this pawn. So knight f8 is the only move, and if queen a7, queen f5, and black might survive this, yeah? So black just might survive this. So knight g5 has been played. Let's look at these guys' faces. Yeah. See, he rushed with h4. He rushed with h4. He had no patience. He had to play h4, which is the reason why you must be patient. You must play h4 first, right? Now you see it, right? It is extremely important because you play knight d5 first, and you lose an important tempo. This is an extremely important tempo, and all right. So h4, I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. I think queen g4 is more, and this knight f8 idea, trying to trade the knight, is probably better. Probably queen a7, and let's test if simple queen c7. Then, yeah, then it's just a draw. Because if you play knight f3, I believe just this, and then g5, right? Black is just very dangerous. So you gotta play this position. Again, knight f8. And I think queen f3 probably has to be played. So we're gonna watch some of this stuff because f6 is really not good, right? Again, superior pawn structure, knight f3, and black is a sort of zugzwang, right? He is lost because if king moves, the knight goes. If the knight goes, knight e5 goes anyway, so you have to play e5, and then just basically trade and knight d4, and white wins the pawn. So knight f8. Correct. And now white has to play queen f3. He has to trade the queens. So we're gonna watch and see this game now. White will be pressing because he has all the chances in the world, right? Knight b8. I kind of like this knight f3, but I don't know. The idea behind knight f3 is to put this king on g5 and transfer the knight to c2, where he can do a lot of damage. So for example, king g5, knight e1. And white has a very simple plan. He has this is the reason why h5 is bad, right? You see it because white will attack this pawn and black will be forced to recapture. Let's just just for the argument's sake, let's watch it. You want to take on h5, and now you get this pawn structure, right? There is the threat of h6, king f6, and you see the evaluation is +5, and white is winning. So that is exactly what you need to avoid. And yeah, so these positions are huge, right? This is huge. This is the reason why I don't play this stuff for black. Exactly, Mark. Thank you very much. So this is a great and instructive game. So let's see queen f5. The idea is that you really want to get the space for your knight. And how does it work? You cannot play this because the king just runs here and you have to extra tempias, right? So after this move, I think f6, and this is very close to a draw. Very, very close to a draw. It's not clear cut yet. See, this is already bad because after f4, white king runs to a5, this knight goes to e5 and you lose, I think. Oh, so it's been played, yeah? And see, black is suffering. Huge suffering for black. Thank you, Mark, for your donation. Thank you. So, guys, learn. This is important. This is like one of the main lines in the Queen's Gambit, right? And this is how you play this line for black and for white. Yeah. So this h5 move is absolutely vital. Little pawn move in the middle game, right? But it turns out to be extremely important. So king f3. White is just playing safely, and let's see Magnus' face. He knows he is close to a draw, but he's not quite there yet. Still kind of a bit elusive, and f6 has been played. King f6 and king e3, and now he has to find this only line. I think it's the only line that that he has, and he has to see this line, because if he doesn't see g5, he's lost. This is pretty much lost. Oh, he's lost anyway. Oh my god, okay, so this is lost, right? King e5, king g5, and then wait, it's not that lost. King d6, f4, take, king c6, h4. All right, this is a draw. This is very close to a draw. No, but this is gonna be a huge torture, right? This is a huge torture, because you have, oh, you cannot even take this pawn. You gotta play king f3. Then queen e6. My god, the torture will continue, right? The torture will continue, and if you don't play this, then you gotta be prepared for what? Can you run with your king? f4 looks like draw. f4 looks like a draw, and if knight f3, and if knight d7, ooh, king knight e1. What a move. What does this mean? What does this mean for us? Yeah, if you play this, and what does this f4 mean for us? The idea is that white is just gonna play knight e5 and force black to trade, right? And this will be winning. This will be winning because white king just marches here, right? So this is winning. And I like this f4 thing. I really like this f4 thing, followed by knight f3 and knight e5. So let's see if black can do better. But what can he do? He can play knight f6 for sure. Knight e4. Yeah, but he loses the vital pawn. This is lost. Oh, he played knight f3 and... okay, but he can still play knight d1, knight e1, knight d3, f4, and knight e5. He can still find it. So let's see what black can do. Guys, you see how this is huge, right? Yeah. Yeah, so this is huge, and knight e1 has been played. And I think Hikaru will find this knight d3, followed by... oh, he can actually play knight b4, yeah? So for example, if he plays knight d3, knight b4, and king f4 and f3, right? This looks winning, because this knight on b8 is just so dumb. King g5, and then a simple knight d3 and f4. King h6 first, of course, no mates, right? And then f4, and white wins. This is winning for white. Ladies and gentlemen, this should be winning for white. So 91, and Magnus is realizing how dangerous this position is, and he realizes he's likely to lose this game, guys. We just have to check g5 move, and I think it's a great move. But then again, knight e5, I really like this because f4 wins, right? So knight b8, and now yeah, f4, and king walks to a5, because black has to spend 3 tempos here. King c3, king d8, and boom, and this pawn is gone, right? And if this pawn is gone, then black can resign. All right, so king f6, and now 2 choices for white. One is to play knight b4, which is still winning. The other choice is to play knight e5, which is still winning, right? And the simplest choice is f4, followed by knight e5, and then king walk to a5. So let's see which choice Naka will see. Yeah, very clean game. Yeah, yeah, he just completely... Yeah, but Hikaru knows his positions, right? He plays in black all the time. If he does win this, that's huge. Yeah. Hikaru knows he's winning. He knows he cannot make a mistake. And he knows he's winning. So we saw that this line wins, right? We saw that this line wins. Because if h4, then how does white win? Not by running here anymore. Oh, we're gonna see a series of computer moves, yeah? King f2, king f3, and then knight g6. So that means you have to play king h4 and then king g2. And then you're gonna slowly push this king out, right? And that's how you win. Oh, he found f4. He will find knight e5, of course. And boom! It's a win for white, baby. It is a win for white, guys. He found it. He found it. He found f4, knight e5. And the difference, you see this pawn on h5, how bad it is? This g6 pawn is lost because of that h5 pawn. If the pawn was on h7, this would be very close to a draw, because black can just take it and play king e6, put the pawn on h6, and it will be a draw. But because this pawn is on h5, it is lost. Very clean victory for white. Yeah, white deserves to win on principle because he was pressing the whole game, and black just decided to go very passive, very solid but very passive. He deserves to lose. I agree. Mark, you're absolutely right. Now white just have to find a way to win this. Yeah, the most difficult part of the game now actually starts, because a winning game is the hardest part, right? Yeah, Magnus obviously not gonna resign because yeah, but white is just gonna walk with his king, I believe, right? Because knight attacks the g6 pawn. So we're looking at probably king d3, king b4, king b5, king b6, c7, c7, and etc. Black will have to give up this g6 pawn as well, but because 2 controls the 3, he is gonna hope for some blockade, like with the knight on c7. I don't know how this is going to work. Knight goes here. The idea is to play knight b4 now. And knight h7 probably has to be played. And then probably knight b4. See how black king is cut off. And black will have to play this. And white just brings the king to a4, b5. And king can never get to this pawn, right? King b3. Very clean by Naka, because if he loses this g3 pawn, these 2 pawns are still controlling the 3. So let's see. Yeah, see Naka, when he's doing like this, he is pretty happy. He knows he's winning, right? He knows he's winning, guys. Yeah, he's dancing. He's doing this Naka dance, right? All right. Okay, so king b5. Yeah, +7. 2 pass pawns, absolutely winning for white. Black has no chance, and he should probably resign around here. He's still playing. He's still playing. He's still playing. 94, but okay. Alright, dude. 97, knight takes g6, just wins. Yeah. Just grab this pawn, push this pawn to d6, then 95, and anything wins here, guys. I like c6 and king b6 too. This looks pretty clean, right? Because the king walks, and then king b6, knight goes e7, d5, d6, c7, maybe. 97, just 97, knight takes g6, king c5 also wins. Yeah, very clean game, and we're expecting this guy to resign anytime now. Expecting a resignation. Resigned? Yes. All right. Fantastic. Yeah. Great performance by Nakamura. He really showed how to play this position with white. 1-1. And 2 more games to go. Yeah. Great game. In about 12 minutes, I have to register for chess.com. They have today tournament. It didn't start yet. It will start soon. They have the streamer tournament. All right. So again, critical mistake by Black was he played pretty much. Yeah, I really didn't like this rook a2. See, b5 closing the position would be nice, because then you remember in the endgame, guys, how white king managed to walk through to a5. So this b5 actually prevents all that. So sometimes you gotta think whether to keep the pawns on c6, b5, or to take on c5, right? So in this kind of position, especially white doesn't have the light squared bishop. If white does have a light squared bishop, you have to watch out for the piece sack right on b5 all the time, because white gets this very strong, powerful connected pawns. But if white doesn't have that light squared bishop, then you can probably safely play b5, and then you have to think about how to, prevent white's attacking here on the king side. One of the best ways I find personally is for simply to black play f5, get yourself weakness on e6, but then you block everything here. So Magnus taking on queen d1, and then so Magnus took on c5 here, and queen a6, and this was the rook b8 was okay, but this position was critical, and h5 was really bad. See how the computer suggests h6 here, or anything actually. h6 is very nice, because remember those types of positions after you trade everything, white gets the square on g5. So that's why you need to play h6, and h5, I believe, is actually to be a losing move. This is a losing move, guys. See? You have to know this position in advance to understand it, but this is actually a losing move, because you are giving this g5 potential square away for white, and all your endgames are basically lost because of this move. So black lost in one very unobvious move. It created a huge amount of weaknesses in your flank, and it looks like logical, right? But it's just a losing move. All right, and now we're waiting for the game number 3. Let's go and wait for game number 3. So if you guys have any questions, let's ask, because both me and Mark are here on the channel. We are ready to answer your questions. I'm gonna grab some more pine pine nuts. Almonds. These are almonds. I could never get the difference. Almonds and pine nuts. Who are you rooting for? I'm rooting for Nakamura. He's a fellow American wild dude, yeah, and he's a good actor. And we played on the team together in the US Championships many times. So, no brainer for me, guys. No brainer. I'm rooting for Naka. Because who else is gonna beat this evil big Sauron dude, right? Except that Naka Baggins, guys. It's gonna be Naka Baggins, right? I mean, he was supposed to be in this candidates tournament, but he isn't. Does Naka like to party? You better believe it, guys. He likes to party. Yeah, and Mark, this Naka Baggins was created by one of my fans. Yeah, I kind of like that nickname. We should actually make an emoticon for Naka Baggins. Yeah, that'll be fun. Because I don't see him as an Aragorn, right? He is not like Aragorn type for sure. Yeah, Magnus Sauron. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but if we're starting with that, then we gotta make up names for all the rest of the guys. Like, who is Giri? Who is gonna be Giri, for example? And then who's gonna be Grishuk, right? And then we're gonna go with this list, right? So we're gonna have our own. Giri is an ant. No, he doesn't look like an ant. Come on, guys. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Giri actually re-imaged himself almost like Madonna, right? He adapted to the situation. He re-imaged himself in the modern times. Right. You know, that Madonna was not actually being sarcastic. You know, when I came in the 80s, right? You know, if you guys remember the 80s, Madonna was huge, right? All her songs were like extremely popular, along with Michael Jackson, of course. And then there was this period in the 90s where she like sort of started to fade, right? But then Samwise Giri, okay, that is an interesting suggestion. So you think he's a hobbit, right? You prefer Van Halen. Oh, Madonna. Yeah, okay. Right, but I don't know. If you remember, if you were in the 80s, like a young kid like me, you know, those songs were like pretty good. Yeah, but then of course we had also a lot of other brilliant guys, right? We had the Final Countdown song, right? That was like one hit wonder, which was huge. Which chess player is Nazgul? Oh, you mean one of those 9 Spirit Kings, right? With the bone to the ring. They're gonna hunt you to the death. No, let's not talk about the evil heroes. Let's talk about the nice heroes, the light heroes. So we have hobbits, we have dwarves, we have elves, right? So I think Giri is one of the elf ones. Yeah, he should be. And dwarves, okay, I have some in mind. Morozevich is like a ranger for sure. I think he should be either that the ranger, the brother of the fallen human hero, right? Farmir. Wait, what was his name? Who is Gandalf? Gollum. All right, we're really into it, right? Boromir. Yeah, what's Boromir's brother's name? Faramir. Yeah, I think Faramir. Hey, and they have those great women heroes, right? The Shield Maiden. The Shield Maiden. Now it's okay. It's more tough choice, right? Faramir. Yeah. Golem. Yeah, but Golem turns out to be a good guy in the end, right? He is a good guy finally. I don't want to think about who's gonna be Shelob. Yeah, that's definitely probably out of the question. So we're waiting for the game number 3, and Smeagol. Yes, Smeagol, for sure. So Maxim Legrave, who should he be? Yasser Golem? No. Yasser is not Golem. Yasser is not Golem. He's more like Gandalf. Yeah, I think Yasser is more like Gandalf. He was never a good guy. Yeah, but he turns out to be playing an important role. Ultimately, while he was an evil guy, he committed a good deed, right? Ultimately. Yasser is a tree bird. No, but I like Yasser's Gandalf. He looks like Gandalf. I don't know. Boromir's, you know, Jan is actually looking like a Boromir. A little bit, yeah. Maybe I'm mistaken. Nepomniachtchi for Boromir, or I don't know. Kind of tough choice. But Maxim Legrave is would be interesting. Bombor. Tricky questions. Anyway, what do we expect now? We probably expect the English again. Oh, wow. Okay, now we see this absolutely same line, but Nakamura is playing with black. Whoa, guys, we're seeing theoretical discussion. Take on c4. Wow. And Magnus actually not going for the c5 line, right? In which he just lost. He's going to this line instead. This is pretty fascinating. Probably should be... Black should be okay. Black should be okay, but knight g5 is definitely unusual. This might be prep by the world champion. So let's see. It doesn't quite make sense to me. Wow, knight g5. Knight g5 bullet? Really? Probably a lot better for black than the line the last game. Yeah, absolutely. Andromeda, I agree with you. I absolutely hate that the line for black was c5. There is also a line in Slav Chabanenko, right, where white plays c5 and black plays bishop f5. Then you get a lot of similar structures, which is the reason why I never liked bishop f5, which is the reason I like g6, which is a fighting move. And we had a bunch of games with Nakamura discussing that line. And I think he managed to kill me only once in a rapid game in that line. But he was very lucky because he was worse, actually. But knight g5, wow. Look at this, b5, h6, so many moves for black. Definitely preparation. Don't trust bishop knight g5. Yeah, I don't trust either, but look at the computer evaluations. It looks pretty interesting, yeah? So the most logical move is b5, of course. Then you have to watch out for this queen f3 and bishop d3, and queen is rapidly going to h3 and then knight g4. And the position is starting to look really kind of good for white, yeah? If you take, bishop e7 probably, because if you play bishop e7, then it's just queen g3. Right, this stuff is hanging all over the place. Maybe white is okay. I mean, maybe black is okay, but I like this one more. Yeah, but rook on a7 is like not that nice, yeah? Rook on a7 is kind of funny. Rook c1, probably better, slightly for white. And if you play h6, if you try to hit this knight immediately, the knight does go to e4, and he can potentially go to d6 now. And that's not something that you want to do with black. So this is an interesting piece of prep. Bishop b3, bishop e7, knight d6, take queen d6, and if white manages to pull off f3, e4, he will be better, but he doesn't quite manage to pull it off. And the threat is bishop t5 for knight d5, rook t1, and knight e4 or take, and then black just in time to play this bishop t5 move, which should probably be a draw. So very interesting prep, actually. Thank you, Andromeda, for donation. Wow, thank you so much, man. All right, I gotta come up with new badges, of course. That is the second on the agenda. I just managed to add some social buttons to my YouTube and my Facebook. Now I have to work on those badges. Thank you. So knight e4 is a threat. What about bishop e7 then? Makes sense, yeah? And if you play knight e4 now, then black just plays b5, bishop d3, and bishop b7, and black is okay. Because he can play bishop c6. So if I were old school, I would consider bishop e7. But b5 was played, and white goes for this line. Instead of queen f3, he really went really fast. And I want to see this. So queen b6 you don't really want to play because of knight d5s. This makes sense. Queen e7 you cannot play because of bishop d6. So, but if you play queen e8, there is this queen knight c6. No, this is not good for white. This is definitely not good. You need to take this knight. Can you take here and play bishop d6? You can, but then you have to be ready for this trick, right? And black is better. So it's kind of very complicated position. So take, bishop takes, and probably you have to play bishop d6. Yeah, okay, so you take with the queen, to prevent bishop d6, but then you have a4. Thank you for your donation. Thank you. Wants to that rook in the open board versus the minors. That's true. Yeah, it is very forced. So queen f8 was played because you want to keep those pair of bishops, right? Black wants to keep a pair of bishops. If white manages to exchange pair of bishops and play f3, e4, black is in serious trouble. Because white rook and two pawns, as a rule, are superior. Oh, but there is this knight e4 trick. Wow. Look at this prep. Oh my god, look at this prep, guys. Look at this preparation. Although I'm not impressed with this. Is there a better move? I don't see it. Knight c5, queen c5, rook c1. And black looks okay to me. I mean, white looks okay, right? Rook c7, queen d5, and then f3. Look at the evaluation changes. Queen a2, probably gotta be played. And black is suffering. Black is really suffering here. So knight e4 is a choice. You don't really want to play knight e5 because after knight e5, bishop b7, black is better because very strong pair of bishops. Looking at this white king, especially this bishop, and f3, e4 is not so easy to play now. I mean, you can do something like this, and then that's a problem. You know, black queen gets to g6, knight gets to e4, rook gets to f8. Black will be winning, and this is not what white wants to get. So I kind of like this knight e4 trick, and let's see what black comes up. Knight d6. All right, knight b6. Take. White needs to exchange the heavy pieces. Without heavy pieces on board, white is better, remember. And rook d8. Queen, probably e2 or c2. Not sure. I kind of like queen c2. The idea is rook fd1. And small advantage to white, I think, yeah? I think small advantage to white, but he has to find this knight e4 move. Yeah. So it's in style. This is still a prep. I'm pretty much sure it is a prep because knight e4 was played. Yeah, knight e4 was played, and I mean, you have to remember move like this in advance. And yeah, white is better. Yeah, white is better. Yeah, so this is a pretty impressive preparation by the world champion. Pretty impressive preparation. Because you don't want to, you know, knight g5, bishop e6 is not the most obvious choice, right? And wow. All right, let's see if this was played before. Let's go back for a second. I haven't seen any games here, right? We have one game here, Wojtaszek versus Andreikin, which is last year. Oh, there was the game played. And bishop e6 also was played, right? So let's see how far did the queen e8 was played. So knight f8, of course. And bishop f8 was played in that game. Right, you guys see this is a draw. And queen f8 is a new move, actually. So this is all preparation. Knight take, queen takes c5, and we are looking at a somewhat pleasant position for whites. I kind of like white in this game, to be honest. Queen d5, and this is yeah. So this was the line that we saw. Check forks everything, but then yeah. So f3 has to be played, or you can take on d5, and I think Magnus will just take on d5. And he's just gonna torture black in this position because it's just so hard to play with black here. Kind of like b3 to prevent that bishop going to b3. And then, of course, we have to look at this position, right? We have to look at this position. But this looks okay now for black. Because if you play a3, then you get this really nice square either for your knight or for your bishop. The question is which one. Knight b6 allows white bishop to get to d4, followed by f3, e4. And if you play bishop c4, ideally you would want to also put this pawn on a4 to make this bishop really untouchable. But even this looks pretty good, right? f3, knight d3. Yeah, this looks okay for black. So queen d5, this is the reason why I kind of like computer move f3 and offering black to take this pawn in exchange for this advance. Because if you take here, rook c7 just wins the game, right? You don't want to play bishop c8, e5 just wins. And if you cannot take this pawn, then you have to play knight f8, bring the knight to e6. And white definitely has plenty of compensation for the pawn. But black also has the game going, right? So it's still a lot of games here. I don't know. I think white's slightly better because the rooks are coming into play and this bishop on b7 is kind of closed. But it is defensible. So f3 has been played. Wow, f3. We got lost between real game and variations. Right, sorry. All right, so this is the real game. And we are very happy, right? That we are very happy that we actually successfully foresee the world champion's choice, right? All right, Mark thinks that this game is really plus-minus, which means a large advantage to white. I am not sure. So e4 has been played, and materialistically speaking, this is about equal. Of course, in terms of the positional understanding, the balance is slightly in white's favor because of bad bishop on b7 and huge potential for white pawns to actually move forward in the center. But it's still very close to equal. I think computer's evaluation 0.5, maybe a little bit too much. Should be around 0.4 maybe. But we see that it is not easy for black to deal with this potential coming rook to c7. So that is the reason why I kind of like this computer move with knight f8, because it prevents white's e5 threat, right? The knight on d7 no longer will be hanging. Potentially knight can go to e6, where together with the bishop on b7, they will be taking control of a lot of squares in the center. But of course it's not so easy to... Well, the idea is if rook c7 now you have... Ooh, I thought 96. The computer has bishop d5, incredible, absolutely incredible line, which I did not see. I was thinking more about this line, and I think black is fine here, right? Because this bishop was important to white. So knight f8 has been played. Very strong play by Naka. And one real time, one analysis. Yeah, maybe. Let's see their faces for a second. Naka is thinking he knows he got into the prep. He has to survive, right? Let's check if there is a tournament. Yeah, there's this... see this guy's tournament? That's where I want to go. We have a lot of people here. So let's join this tournament. Let's not forget, it starts in 48 minutes. Which means I will have to leave you guys after the third game. And I apologize for that, but I need to play in that tournament, alright? So, knight f8 has been played, and now we see the most likely human move to be here, in my mind, is bishop e5, because this bishop is much better placed on this diagonal. The second move would be to play queen d6, and sort of prevent black from playing queen e6, and this queen on d6 can later go to b6, also preparing bishop e5, and rook goes to d1. Of course, queen d6 is not so easy to find, but I like this move, right? And of course, let's check it out. Bishop e5, rook d8, and if queen b6, for example, then you have this knight d7 trick, right? Because black does need to exchange this very strong white's bishop here, which is why computer plays queen b4. And again, we see a lot of complicated game here, a lot of complications here. Bishop e5. We're looking at the lines right now, so you don't get confused. And I'm thinking rook e8, right? Let's see this structure, because this structure is important. And how black should recapture. Recapturing with the pawn or with the queen. The computer says that they're very similar, but he likes with the queen more, because if you capture with the pawn, the rook on the 7th together with the queen creates a huge pressure for black. right? Because this queen on d4 is extremely powerful. A lot of checks are coming, and so black probably, I have to agree, black probably will have to trade the queens and go into this endgame. However, having said that, I still think this is highly unpleasant for black, even though it is close in material equality. But if white gets that b4 in, that rook goes to d6, this pawn will be covering 2. White will join the king in the center, followed by g4, h5, h4. And again, this rook on the 7th is an absolute monster. So we're looking at some potential play like this, probably rook a7. And black will be fighting for the survival. Alright, so rook f2 was played in the game. Thank you very much for gifting the sub. The idea behind rook f2 is also to prevent this rook going to d2 and sort of build this mini Alekhine gun. And I like black's computer suggestion of knight e8. Look at how these knights are controlling all these squares. But black will be passive here. What happens if a4? What happens is that b3 is not really that great. So queen will have to return, and then it's still a game because again, white rooks have no entrance. If he rook d8, then queen b6 check, right? So maybe h3 or h4. Maybe play cautiously, but then this trade of rooks is actually probably okay for black now. Probably okay, but still very complicated, right? Queen d4, a5. I was thinking about rook a8, for example. And then a4, and all black has to do is like put his bishop on f7. Still problems for black. Still problems. So very good preparation by the world champion. Going to this line. The question is, can he survive? And knight g5, knight e6. Yeah, and I think that's that, as we have seen, the game has been played, but Magnus actually improved on it, or actually Hikaru, you know, when he thought he might play, when he recaptured on the fate with the queen, he thought he might keep his bishop pair, but I'm pretty sure he didn't see knight e4, and in that predecessor game, we saw bishop f8, right? So this is an extremely interesting line, and we're pretty much sure that after this game in particular, a lot of professionals will, you know, pay attention to this game, and they will study this line, obviously. So rook d2 first, or take on c8. We don't want to take on c8 because we really don't want to allow black bishop to enter this diagonal with the tempo, right? That kind of makes life easier for black. So that is the reason why rook d2 is probably better in advance, and just not to let the bishop on b7 to let him into the game so easily. That is the point. So we expect rook d2. Let's look at the faces again. We see that Naka is not happy, but Magnus still has some work cut out for him, because probably his preparation ended like several moves ago after knight e4. Just f3 e4 maybe was part of the prep, and he did take on c8 though, and I think this trade actually makes life easier for black. If Carlsen wins this game, does he win the match? No, there is one more game for Naka to take his revenge on, to try. And queen d8. So bishop e6 right now is probably not so great, because these knights will be kind of stuck together, and then white will be probably going for this h3 and then f4, f5, e5 blitz sort of thing. On the other hand, of course, for human to see this line is asking too much, probably over human, and the idea later to play queen c6 followed by knight e6 is a little bit too much. Although queen e6 has been played, and now we're gonna see rook d2 or rook c2, right? Depends where white wants his rook. Also, bishop d6 looks pretty normal, because bishop on f4 has completed his function. I would actually love to see this bishop somewhere on c3, right? Because this bishop on c3 will look kind of nice, because he'll be, you know, doing a lot of things on the king side and preventing black pawns from moving forward. So, but how to do that? One of the ways to do that is by playing bishop f4 to d6 to b4 to c3. And white will probably need to play the rook on d2 anyway in order to put that rook to the d8. He can think about putting this rook to the 7th, but I kind of like this rook on the d file. It just makes more sense to me. And would you say that the rook is better than 2 knights in this position? For sure. For sure. The only thing that is holding for black right now is that he has 2 pawns versus 1 on the queen side. If he can manage to get these pawns rolling, he should be okay. Or set up some kind of blockade. For example, if this bishop was on f7, right, and then you have h6, king h7, knight e6, and probably black will be okay. But as it is, this right now, this is complicated. Queen e8. Queen e8, an interesting choice. Black wants to trade. Maybe it is a good idea to trade queens, because with the queens on board and rook, right, white always have a lot of attacking ideas. Always a lot of attacking ideas. So maybe white should not trade the queens, but then if he doesn't, then he has to play something. Oh, so we see the queen trade being accepted. The bishop going to b4, as we mentioned, preventing black pawns from rolling. Now the rook will go to c2 or d2, followed by the very fast king e3, followed by f4, f5, or g4. So it's not easy to move these pawns with the bishop controlling the g4 square, right? Because black is simply going to set up like g6, h5, preventing that g4, f5 sort of thing. We see the evaluation here. Here the evaluation is still better for white, because it is very difficult to move this pawn. If this pawn was on a4, then the knight will go to c4, and black actually will be better, but he doesn't. So we see knight f6 and king e3. So things are getting very interesting here. Premium Arena, yeah, I know. Mr. Sorayevsky, I already signed up for the tournaments. Let's see the camera action. See, Nakamura is not happy because he knows he's worse, right? Let's close this window. I already signed up. We have in 40 minutes the tournament. But let's keep going to this game. And as we can see, white is very comfortable here. Very, very comfortable. Maybe for black, one of the ideas is to put this knight on c6. Like king e8, right? Preparing knight d8. That's one of the ideas, which is actually third line by the computer. Or play g6 first and king e8. I think g6 is actually, g5 is inaccurate. This is definitely not what you want to play. You make life easier for white by playing g3, h3, and f4. So g6 is definitely would have made a lot more sense. For example, h3 and then king e8, f4, for example, and I thought knight d8 was good, but it's not that great, right? It's not that great, even because of this rook d6. Yeah, not easy to play. Why the computer thinks that knight h5 is so good? I'm curious. Curious minds wants to know. Oh, the computer tricks start. Yeah, the computer tricks start. Okay, tactical defense. That is why the computer is so good, because humans doesn't see that tactical defense, but the computer obviously will not miss that defense, and sometimes his entire concept is built around that tactics, which you have to foresee 3-4 moves in advance, which is not so simple. That's the whole concept. We expose the cheaters here. Yeah, this is kind of wrong wording. We are exposing the suspicious characters and putting them on our list. That is what we do, right? We try to kick ass and open the hidden stuff, right? All right, so knight d7. What happened? What happened with rook d6? g3 was preferable, right? I kind of like g3 as well. Maybe he was afraid of bishop b7 and g4, but doesn't quite work, right? Rook b6 and doesn't quite work. But okay, so knight d7, and white will have to play b3 to cover this square. So b3, knight a5, and then we see g3 anyway, and now there is the fight for the square on g4. Kick this knight out first, and then preventing f4, then rook c6, knight e7, rook b6, knight g6, and rook b8. Finally getting this bishop to d7, and rook a8. Very complicated game this is. This is extremely complicated endgame, guys, to be honest. This is extremely complicated, both to defend and both to win this. Very, very difficult. Thank you, Mark. Hope you guys really do. They have no future, but they're extremely annoying, and knights are always famous for their forks, right? And we have two knights here. And we have opposite colored bishops, which also adds the favor to this endgame, because one wrong move can actually spell doom for either of the players. Well, probably it has more doom potential for the black, of course, right? But this active rook and bishop and central pawns together with the king on e3 really makes life difficult for black. So g3, the huge threat of f4, f5. If white manages to get his pawn to f5, I would say the game is over, right? Because then e5, e6 is just game over. So so black has to play knight e5, I think, yeah, or knight f6, whichever one comes first to mind. And white will have to play bishop c3 to exchange that probably knight, or attack it at least, and in order to play f4, f5. So for example, let's do a quick example. What is this position, right? Just make some move, for example, right? I don't know, knight d7, b4, knight f6, right? So just wanted to point out that this position is very close to lost for black, because after f4, this f5 is unstoppable, right? And then king walks with these pawns together, and black will be forced to trade his piece for these two pawns, resulting in the pure exchange for white. And you see, this is actually lost. So this is what white wants to get. This is what white wants to get, and this is something that black has to consider. So he has to avoid the exchange, such an exchange that makes white life very easy. So h5, and we are expecting bishop c3 here, with the idea of f4, and we expect the knight to go to g6, right? That is the expectation from this point. Because if you play anything else, then f4 happens. And of course, now this is going to be a huge thing. It's going to be dancing around with these pieces. And we saw that rook b8 forces bishop d7, otherwise f4, right? And now either b4 immediately, or I think I like b4 because white is not in a rush. And h4 is interesting. The idea is that if g4, f4 obviously is good for white. And if you trade, white found another square for his bishop by playing bishop e1, bishop g3, followed by f4, f5. But this is actually starting to get a little bit tricky here. Black has a lot of checks at his disposal here, right? This is the tactical means of a blockade. Because if you trade the bishop here, and you play king e3, then you lose this pawn on h4. But if you play king g3, then this is a sort of tactical way of holding the blockade, right? And it's not so clear. So a5, I really don't like this move because of the computer rook d5 attacking absolutely everything. All these pawns will be attacked. I don't understand a5, to be honest. I thought that black has to play knight f4 and hold this fort around this f4 square. Maybe here, and then yeah, because after a5, rook d5 looks absolutely killing to me. For example, a4, just basically grab on h5, and knight f4, for example, is bad, right? And then rook goes, you have 3 pawns here. So rook d5 is played. Let's see the face. Hikaru knows that he missed something, I think, yeah. Rook d5, just look at the evaluation jump, right? It's one wrong move for black, and this position is already like really not that great. So maybe he was looking forward to this idea. So let's see how this works out for black. Because he does get this pawn on h4. However, this pawn is under attack, so he has to play probably king g6, which is allowing white to get this monster b pawn. But if he plays knight g6, then this endgame. Actually, I covered this endgame in the historical match between Zukertort and Steinitz. They had almost exactly the same endgame, right? And this endgame is very difficult to hold for black. In fact, this is probably very close to impossible. This is the endgame which is close to winning for white. Plus 2.1 means it is winning. And this is the game that happened in the Zukertort game. I'm actually very impressed that this such position has the predecessor, right? Wow. This is a wow moment, right? We're going back in history, almost 150 years ago, and games like this happened. All right. Thank you for following. Yeah, absolutely, Mark. This is what white wanted. Yeah, Naka is not happy at all. He's not happy at all. I don't know. Yeah, because it's pretty obvious that white is going to take this pawn first. And then we're still going back to this endgame, I think, yeah? Wait, not exactly. Oh, he missed rook g5. Rook g5 was missed. And a3, h5 is probably okay. But bishop c3 is winning, yeah? And if a2, now h5 wins. Yeah, so I think he missed rook g5, because if you do play rook a5 here, then black is fine, right? Because you have time to protect the pawn with bishop on d7. And that is a huge thing. It's still unpleasant, but you keep the pawn on a4. And you have much better chances to make a draw here. So after rook d5, Naka is down to 2 minutes versus 5 minutes. $100 that you could lose this as white. Dude, you should bet on your winning instead of losing. You know, be a winner, right? The American mentality, you want to be a winner. You don't want to lose. A boost of confidence is important. In chess, especially as it is a huge sport, confidence is huge. A lot of grandmasters, they blunder stuff, but they act like nothing happened, like this is all normal, part of the plan. The opponent gets confused, and the grandmaster still outwits him somewhere later. Yeah, I mean, there is a difference between being too cocky, like really being an asshole, right? Let's be frank, right? There's a difference between being an asshole cocky and just being respectful winner, right? Confidence. It has to be a healthy dose. Right, exactly, Mark. Perfect word, arrogance. Right, don't be arrogant. So, okay, so a4, and we are going to see this line. We are going to see this line, guys. I'm not sure about this rook takes b5. It is also probably pretty good for white, yeah. And then bishop g3, a very important move, preventing knight f4. Yeah, this is even worse version of this. This is even worse version because with the bishop, f4, f5 is a breeze. This is even worse version than the... yeah, I don't like it at all. Yeah, looks like Magnus is gonna cash in this game though, yeah. That is stupendous opening preparation by Magnus. Improving on that game, for sure. That on the predecessor game. Naka is not happy at all. We feel the pain, man. We feel the pain. Getting this endgame against Magnus and is not what you want. Yeah, and now you see why that g5 move was inaccurate, right? Because it helps white actually to play this f4 stuff. Thanks for the pep talk. Right. Yeah, so again, in chess, you know, chess is a lot like poker in this respect. A lot of psychology, a lot of acting, a lot of pretending. So rook b, oh, he plays rook h5. Okay. Okay, this is really a strange move, to be honest. But okay. Kind of strange, to be honest. Again, why allow all these tricks, right? I know that you have rook g5, of course. We know that. Magnus, we know you're cool, but you're trying to demonstrate you're not scared at all, are you? And then a b3, but then you have to find this bishop c3 move. Also h5 and rook b5. This still probably works, yeah. How does it work? If knight h4, then just rook b3, right? This is very close to winning. All right, so this is still very much winning for knight f8. Probably just bishop c3 is so huge. This is a huge move. You know, this pawn with this bishop is just gonna be rolling like nothing. And you can even go into probably this line, right? Ooh, actually, probably not. Yeah, but why do you have to, right? You don't have to go into this line. Yeah, but it's actually interesting. Let's check this out. Let's check this out. Is this really draw? Looks like a draw, yeah? Because of king g5, then bishop e7, pawns are being held. So king e5, king h6, f4. Should be winning though. Should be winning. But according to the computer, black has resources, right? This move, then check, and you sort of go for this pawn, and the computer says it's actually draw now, yeah? Whoa. Alright, so bishop c3, we're looking for b4 now. And bishop somewhere, knight e6. So we're looking at this line. I'm not sure why Magnus decided to complicate things. I'm not sure why he decided to complicate things. Maybe he didn't know about the Zucker-Tort-Steinitz game. I'm pretty sure he didn't, because I didn't until I've covered it, right? And if you know that game, then you know that rook and two connected pawns versus bishop and knight are practically winning, right? Practically winning. But you have to, yeah, if you don't know that, you kind of be scared to do that. I understand. Yeah, but now there is a problem. Now there is sort of a problem, because if you want to play rook b5, there's this check. If you go with the king back, then knight f4 protects the square, right? And if you don't play that, oh, rook f5 has been played. Oh, so are we gonna see this rook f4 or not? Are we gonna see this? Oh, we're gonna see rook a5, right? Rook a5, h6, h7. That is what we're going to see. I understand. Okay. That's a pretty badass concept. Rook a8 is a huge threat. And let's see if Magnus plays rook a5 now. Yeah, rook a5 is very strong, yeah? My god. And just check. And just h6. Just wins. h7. Yeah. So, rook a5 wins. Wow. Okay, but that's why this is a computer line, yeah? Oh, Magnus went into this. Oh, this is gonna be... is this gonna be a draw? Wait. Let's see. Because white does have this move, right? Oh, this is not a draw then, because the bishop is not there. Bishop is not there. Bishop b7, and black is not in time to set up king f7, bishop c8 fortress, right? He's not in time. Yeah, he's not in time to set up this fortress, and this is winning. Yeah, okay. Okay, so this is winning. So he plays bishop a6, and king g5, and then of course this should be a win for white. Wow, okay, alright, so this is winning. Yeah, but rook a5 was much simpler, I think, than this bishop endgame. I mean, it is winning, yeah, but did he just resign? He's still thinking, but this is winning, yeah. This is 3 pawns. It's not just 2 pawns anymore. It's 3 pawns, and h5 pawn that was important. So, so I think king h7 was a better chance. And then you have to know that king g5 is not that impressive, but king e5 wins, right? You have to know that giving up this pawn wins the game for you. Because black king is not in time to be on f7. King h6, and king f6 probably just wins, right? Yeah, anything wins here. Yeah, so yeah, this is wonderful stuff. King g6, threat h6 has to give a check. Bishop b5, f4. Yeah, this should be winning. Bishop d3. Oh, but h6 wins. But this also wins. Same idea, right? King e5, f5, same idea. And h6, bishop e8. Then king f6. Again, same idea. The king, white has to go for this plan. Once the pawn reaches e6, it's winning. It's unstoppable. That is the whole trick to this endgame. So, are they playing yet? Oh, they're playing still. Yeah, they're still playing. Alright. So that was tough endgame for Nakamura. Very tough endgame. Stockfish says the checkmate in 56. But do you see that mate in 56? I don't. I sure don't look at this like in mate terms. We'll look at it in the terms of getting to the practical win position. And you can resign, yeah. Yeah, because king goes to e5, f6. And you can resign. Yeah, just don't play e7, right? See how immediately it's a draw now? Yeah, this is kind of instructive, guys. You can always make a mistake, so be very careful. It's not theory, but you know, just be very careful until the very last move. Until your opponent resigns, be very careful. I actually had a few games where I thought I was absolutely winning, and I made a careless move, and then I realized it's a draw, right? So, you know, and also don't resign until it's over, really over. King e7, and pawn goes to f7, and black resigns. And this is actually vintage Carlsen game, guys. This is vintage Carlsen game. This is the stuff that proves that why he's a champion. Great opening prep, followed by the very precise middle game, and transposition to the end game, where black was constantly under pressure. White did not make a single, I would say, even inaccuracy, right? So perfect game by the world champion, perfect pressure, opening, middle game, end game, throughout all those parts. And there is nothing you can do against such a pressure, man. It could have been, by black, any strong GM would have lost this game, I would say. Vintage Carlsen game, guys. Perfect game. Perfect game by White, perfectly deserved to win. Just like previous game, Nakamura did the same thing, right? He was pressing, and he used the single mistake by Magnus to win the game. See how strong these GMs are? Even though the level of defense in the top chess is right now is incredibly high. Still, you know how these grandmasters, one inaccurate move is enough to lose or to win the game, right? And I think I have only 17 minutes left before my tournament starts, and I have to go and prepare for the tournament. So I'm gonna leave you guys with a cliffhanger. The cliffhanger is whether Naka will be able to to win the game and force the match into the Armageddon, right? I have no sure, but I will check the game, of course, after, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about it next time, right? Hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream, and Mark, thank you for rating. Everybody who contributed, made donations, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. And I wish you this incredible fourth game viewership. Let's see if Mark is active on his Twitch. And we see actually one of the leading Russians, Fedoseev, started streaming. Mark is offline. So guys, let's go raid Fedoseev because he is actually doing the English stream. All right, you guys okay with that? So let's raid. And what is his channel? Big Fish 1995. All right, so let's raid the Big Fish 1995. Big Fish 95. And he's also streaming in English, so hopefully you will enjoy that. And we are ready. Let's go, guys. And we are raiding Big Fish. Okay. Oh, he's hosting. Oh my God. Okay. So that was a.
Стоять до упора.
All right. And my God. All right.
Да, забавно, на самом деле, забавно. Причем казалось, что вроде все круто до какого-то момента, но потом...
All right.
Так, ну все. Очков
Okay.
у нас немного, поэтому будем играть принципиально. Будем играть вперед. Да что ж такое? Так же нельзя в шахматы.